Hey everyone, guess what? We do not have ugly swag. We have spaced out radio gear that you're going to want to wear. Why? Because no one wants to wear ugly clothing. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com and go shopping today. You'll be glad you did. And it's a great way to support our show. Once you get your gear, send us a picture of you rocking out in your SOR swag. spacedoutradio.com, shop there today, and make yourself look good.
Welcome, guys, to Spaced Out Radio, the After Hours radio show with me, your host, Mr. Rob G. Fantastic show here tonight. We have all the way from the other side of the globe, from the land down under, we have researcher Mary Rodwell. It's going to be an awesome show for hours 1 and 2. Also, we have Drew Banky coming in with the After Hours wrap-up, hour 3, and Steve Stockton tells and told mysteries. And we'll throw in a UFO and weird news story of the week in as well. Jam-packed, fantastic show wherever you're watching from, whether it's X or YouTube or LinkedIn or Twitch. Make sure you stay tuned. We'd appreciate it. Let me see who's come on in here first. Courtesy of Kitty Catty Whack. She has let me know that Kitty Catty Whack is taking that gold home tonight. The race fan is going to take the silver. And, of course, Flat Sixer, he's going to get his. He's going to go ahead and get that bronze. And we do appreciate you posting all week at the social dig, Kitty Catty Whack. Awesome stuff. Love you, and love your support as well. Appreciate you so very much. Let's see who else has gotten on in here. We got Mel WD40 getting us lubed up and ready for the show. This is what he does all the time. It's what he does. That's definitely what he does. We appreciate you, Mel WD40. We have, who else is here? We have the Roswell Alien. Appreciate you coming on in. Saying hi, Rob, hi, Kitty Catty Whack, and each and all SOR members. Be the reason today gets better. Oh, we're glad we could help do that. I hope this show does help uplift you. We love doing this for you, so appreciate you coming in. We got Polly Rodderman out there with the heart emoji and the alien head emoji. Appreciate you coming in, Polly Rodderman, all the way from the other side of the world, too. We're global right now, and we love it. Roger Murray keeping us informed, as always. You know how he does this. He is, what do we got here? December 9th, 1965 to 2025, the 60th anniversary of Kecksburg, Pennsylvania UFO incident. Awesome stuff. Thanks for keeping us informed. As always, Roger Murray. Let's see who else has come on here. Lakeside Laura saying, Mary, heart emojis. Yes, Mary is here. She is here. She'll be right here in just a moment. Let's see. What else do we have going on here? We have Robert Lamoth Jr. Appreciate you coming on in. Miss Captain Jones, I see you out there. We're going to get to the rest of you guys at the next break. We're getting ready to get this thing going, guys. Let's get ready to go. about 5 seconds here. Let's get into it right about now. Greetings, space travelers. Welcome home. You just tuned your dial to Spaced Out Radio, the only place where you can own the night. I'm your host, Mr. Rob G. And tonight we're broadcasting on our terrestrial affiliates across North America, plus digitally on digital platforms all around the world. Don't forget, you can access our archives absolutely free. YouTube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Also, don't forget to follow us on X and Instagram. That's Spaced Out Radio and that's Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is Spaced Out Radio, where the options are endless. You can stay up to date with the SWR Newswire. You can get yourself some official Spaced Out swag. Plus, you can rock out to the man you hear right there, Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and oh, so much more. Once again, it's going to be a fantastic show here tonight. We have Mary Rodwell, researcher, author, hypnotherapist. We're going to go deep tonight. We're going to go deep with her hours 1 and 2. Can't wait to get her in. We've had her on here before. I know you guys are familiar, so this should be an awesome time. As we see people in the chat agreeing with this as well. Let me go ahead and waste no time at all and go ahead and bring her on the stage. Let's get this show going. And here she is, Mary Rodwell. Hi, Mary. How are you?
Rob, I'm very good. And hello to everyone who's listening.
They are loving you. They couldn't wait for you. We had the show posted weeks ago, and they come in early and they leave notes, little notes and tidbits. So I'll make sure that we read some of those to you. Anticipating your arrival, Mary is the founder and principal of Australian Close Encounter Resource Network, which is ACERN, established in 1997 to provide professional counseling support, hypnotherapy, and information to individuals and their families with anomalous paranormal experiences and abduction contact experiences. Mary is also the director and chair of the experiencer support programs of Dr. Edgar Mitchell Foundation for Research into Extraterrestrial Encounters and an advisory committee member of Exopolitics with the ET World Peace. And she's also organized the inaugural Hidden Truths International Conference held in Perth, Western Australia in 2003. Just a bunch of stuff, just a long resume. So we appreciate you coming on in and spending time with us here, Mary. And as you know, I've had you on here. Great, you've been gracious enough to spend time with me here, you know, at least 3-4 times now. But I talked to Preston Dennett yesterday, and I was telling him, you know, there's so many new people this year. It seems like a big influx of new people who are just seeing things for the first time. They saw 3-Eye Atlas, piqued their interest. They came in. They saw drones at the beginning of the year, piqued their interest, came in. Congressional hearings did the same thing. Now we have this Age of Disclosure film out there doing the same thing. We had a jam-packed 2025. We have a lot of new eyes, you know, that are inquiring on the subject and wanting to know more. So this may be their first time seeing you, Mary, and I would like to have you introduce yourself to them. Let them know who you are, what led you into doing what you're doing today, and any experiences, if you had any early on.
Oh, so a brief overview of what got me into the weird and the wonderful and being called the Alien Lady, which was a documentary that came out in 2010 on SBS in Australia. All I can say is, as a youngster, the only thing that I think made me a little bit more like everyone else that was interested in why we're here, what's it all about, the big picture. You know, I was always curious about things I'd been told and very curious about the supernatural, this kind of thing, wanting to know a little bit more about what that all meant, because I was brought up in a very conventional religious background. So, you know, that was what I was taught to believe. And I discovered that not everything in it was perhaps accurate, to put it kindly. But I did a very conventional profession. I was a nurse, and then I was a midwife, and then I got married and had 3 kids. And it was after that that I got drawn into the world of counseling, working in a medical practice where I was taught how to if you like, be an added support. It's still very new. When I came into counselling 40 years ago, it was still a quite unusual thing that's now, of course, everywhere. But it fascinated me because what it showed me was that many illnesses often stem from emotional or psychological trauma. And I thought, prevention's better than cure, so it intrigued me even more hearing people's stories, particularly if they said to me, for example, as I always remember one gentleman saying, that his father supported him and gave him information from the other side. And I said to him, is it helpful then? He said, oh, absolutely. He's always accurate and he always supports me. And what it did was confirm even more that there's other realities, that we're not just got the 3D, we've got the multidimensional. And that's the spirit, where the spirit comes from and where we all come from, I believe. But what was really important there was, for me, do you honor that part of someone's experience, or do you pretend it doesn't exist? And for me, it was very real for all of those that I ended up meeting that had these experiences, because I ended up coming to Western Australia and working in grief and bereavement for a few years and working in hospice. And again, the question came up, do you believe there's an afterlife? Where do we go when we die? All these big questions, because people are facing their mortality and they want to have some kind of sense of the truth of whether or not there was life after death. And for me, it became very real in the sense of, what do I believe? What is real? What is multidimensional? What is physical? And all those kinds of questions were intriguing me. I went through a past life regression, which fascinated me, because all of a sudden, here's me coming out with, I was a Roman soldier. Oh, and then finding out that I ended up on Hadrian's Wall in the UK being stabbed to death by a barbarian Scotsman, and thinking, do I believe that? This kind of thing. So my own journey went along with what I was reading about. In other words, I've always said that if it's weird and wonderful, I've probably got a book on it somewhere or another in my library, because it fascinated me that there was a bigger picture, not just the 3D that most of us are programmed into. So where did that leave me in terms of becoming what's now, my profession, really my specialist area, which is interactions with non-human intelligence. And I believe, the soul sort of leads you to where you need to go. And I picked up some books at a bookshop that basically, one of them said, Abduction, Human Encounters with Aliens by Dr. John Mack, the Harvard psychiatrist that actually came in as a skeptic, did all the psychological testing and discovered that he actually believed the people that were having experiences and believed it was very much a real phenomena. And also Communion by Whitley Strieber, which is a classic. Everyone knows about Whitley Strieber and his story. He was one of the first on the scene with the ET face on the front. So reading those books, I'm thinking, oh, this is fascinating. It looks very unusual. Perhaps, one day I might meet someone who has these experiences. And within a couple of weeks, believe it or not, someone walks through the door and says to me, there's no support groups for this. They just think you're crazy, and proceeded to tell me about his experiences with going on board craft, shaved areas that he had on his body. And what was fascinating about his story was it was his partner having experiences, the children having experiences. So this wasn't, someone's private hallucination or fantasy when a whole family is involved. And he said, our relatives won't come to the house because they think, they just think, it's demons or something like that. And I'm faced with, I'm convinced that this can be a reality because of the books that I'd read. And I didn't know enough to counteract that. What was fascinating was I was doing advanced counselling at the time at an institute in Perth. And I thought, I'm going to take his story to this supervision and see what they make of it. See if they can tell me whether he's crazy or not, this kind of thing. Because I thought it would be interesting to get feedback. I was convinced he was telling the truth. I was convinced it was real from everything that he said. And what was absolutely fascinating in this advanced counselling course was we had a uniting minister, we had social workers, psychologists and whatever, all doing advanced counselling. I presented his case. Not one of them told me that they disbelieved it. And they started telling me about their own strange experiences. Like one said, oh, I lived in a haunted house once and it was really freaky. Someone else talked about other weird stuff that had happened. So what turned out of me trying to get some information to help me understand what was going on with this gentleman, I ended up hearing all these other weird and wonderful stories from the people in the group that were all doing advanced counseling. And then it hit me. This is really confirming that we live in a multidimensional reality. And that when people talk about their experiences, in many, many cases, it's absolutely real. And it isn't people making it up. This wonderful guy who's a dear friend of mine now, Ellis Taylor, lives in England. He's written about 4 or 5 books of his own, bless his cotton socks, and we're really great mates. But what was fascinating was I thought this was rare until 2 weeks later, someone else walks through the door and they're saying they're having encounters with non-human intelligence, literally 2 weeks after Ellis came to see me. And then I met a social worker that had experiences, and we started an abduction support group, as it was called then. And lo and behold, 12 people turned up in a city that just had over 1 million. And you work out the odds of that. Yeah. And then it's like, you know what? Maybe this isn't so rare after all. And that's the big takeout, is that it's everywhere. There are people, I wouldn't like to think how many in your supermarket that are wandering around that are having unusual experiences, and you don't know about it, and they'll never tell you. Why? Because it's still considered not cool to talk about things that people get scared of or afraid of or don't know enough about, thanks to the truth embargo that we have on this planet. And everybody in this field knows there's a big truth embargo on this, but it's changing because people are deciding now more and more to speak out and talk about their experiences. There's no longer the fear of being judged in the same way anymore. And the disclosure that's happening, no matter from the government how limited that is, it's still giving people permission to start sharing their story. So how did it get to me working with over 3,500 people? Well, I've been in it 30 plus years now, and I'm working with families all over the globe. So this is definitely not rare, and definitely a big program from these intelligences to wake us up.
Yeah, wow. You know, you mentioned the extraterrestrial that's on the cover of Whitley Strieber's book, which is like the classic gray alien, big eyes, big head. Yeah. Is this what you're finding? And I talked to President yesterday and asked him the same question. With your research, are you finding that this is the species that everyone is mostly seeing for the most part? Because I know they talk about others, but is it the grays that they're mostly seeing?
No, actually, the most that are seen are the humanoids or energy beings. And if you go to Beyond UFOs, the survey we did with the Dr. Edgar Mitchell Free Foundation, where the survey was with 4,200 people, 600 questions, it's energy or humanoid beings first, not the grays. The grays are often the second, and there's different forms of gray. And one lady told me that she knew of at least, I think she told me it was something like 160 species of gray that she knew of. So we're talking about many different beings that look semi-similar, but are not necessarily the same species, including the tall grays as well, or the tall zetas. So we have to be careful when we put them all in the same box. So certainly they're not the top of the list. It's actually humanoids.
Wow. Okay. And being that we have a lot of brand new people who don't understand any of the jargon that we use in the community, explain what energy beings and humanoids are. Like, what is the appearance? What do they look like?
Well, the humanoids, a lot of them are walking on this planet, and you wouldn't know the difference for a start. You might look at them and think they look a bit different or feel a bit different, but they may very well be one of these visitors that come to our planet and see how we're doing things or whatever. But energy beings, what we need to just categorize a little bit is the different forms of intelligence and in terms of that are visiting or affecting our reality. We've got the physical extraterrestrials, we've got the interdimensionals, which are like the energy beings, frequency, So we've got extraterrestrials, interdimensionals, extra-dimensionals, transdimensionals, and beings visiting from our future. And that's probably not all of the different ones and it's all to do with frequency. So, it's like a lot of people will say, I saw a light and it had an energy and it had an intelligence. That's usually an interdimensional one because they don't need to take physical form. So it's not easy to say it's this or it's this, and it's certainly not black and white, because many people will say that I have this light that talks to me, and it might be an orb that they're interacting with, which is an intelligence that's just not in a physical form, which is an interdimensional intelligence.
Wow, I think, and thank you for explaining that, because I think that opens up, even people in this community are just, if you're going to think about extraterrestrials as these physical humanoid sort of beings, but when you talk about these energy beings being potentially just orbs, and people see orbs all the time. And so this for them may, I would think that they think that an orb is maybe something in the realm of UFO or potentially paranormal. But if we explain it as these are potentially energy beings, which are also extraterrestrials, then a lot of people may realize that that was a contact moment for them when they saw the orb. So I think that opens up the conversation. What also, you said extra dimensional, interdimensional, extra dimensional, and what was the third that you stated?
Transdimensional.
Okay, can you explain the extra dimensional and transdimensional as well?
Well, the extra dimensional means it doesn't operate in our dimensional space.
Okay.
And often people who are very spiritual would say that would be like that. The names they would give them is like ascended masters or higher dimensional beings that we look to as being, angelic or this kind of thing. Okay. And transdimensional means that they can operate through different dimensions. And, we're told there might be 10 dimensions, 13 dimensions. I've heard the number to be far greater than that. So we really don't know what our universes actually are in terms of reality, because it's changing and we don't have enough understanding. But the one that's most fascinating is those that say they're coming from our future. And I'll explain that I had a wonderful little boy of 7 years old say to me that he's come from the future back in time to being physical in this reality, and that in the future he looks a bit like a grey being with 4 digits. So this, it's not black and white what we're talking about here. We're talking about a complexity that we're only starting to understand. What is contact? And is it, we've all been shown the abduction scenario. Well, for many, that's not the case. For many, they're having equal communication and contact right from when they were small. And they see these beings as family, as their star family. And they don't feel like they belong on planet Earth. They'll say, this isn't home. My home's somewhere else. I've struggled being here. I feel like even in my family, I feel like I've been adopted. I feel I've got a mission or purpose down here. And I don't understand humans. I find them really aggressive and very uncomfortable. And they really struggle in growing up in an environment that to them feels pretty toxic. And this is many hundreds have explained the same thing to me. Don't like it here. I want to go home, is what they say to me. Saying, well, you obviously come here with a purpose and a mission. So whether you like it or not, there's a part of you that's agreed to come down here and have the experience. And many of them will talk about quite conscious of going on board craft and being taught things. I always remember this 8-year-old explaining to me, I'd just speaking to a mum. She lived in the States, and the 8-year-old said, can I tell her now, Mum? Can I tell her? And I said, what is it you want to tell me? And she said, oh, they came and got me a couple of nights ago and took me in a craft, she said, to a planet where they taught me how to use my psychic abilities and how to levitate. And then she said they took me on board spacecraft and they showed me how they changed the DNA of different species to fit a certain planet. And they seed other planets, not only in this reality, this dimension, but other dimensions. And this is an 8-year-old explaining to me, very consciously, quite comfortable with her interactions with these beings, and that she's part of that. So this is a whole new level to what we call contact with non-human intelligence.
What do you think? Is when I think about the ones that potentially are here walking amongst us in daily life, it's just wild to think about that. Would you think that these type of beings live here full time, as far as within society? Like, they have homes, they go to a house, they live, they go to a job like human beings do. Are they assimilating themselves into actual human society, do you think? Or do you think they just come in, blend in, and then go back to where they came from?
They probably do a lot of different things. Some of them, I think, live amongst us. Some of them are visitors. They come down and they just want to see what it's like on this planet and how humans behave. If you are familiar, or any of your audience or listeners, should I say, that know Charles Hall, who wrote about interacting with the tall whites in the Nevada desert, in around Area 51 and what have you. They've got a base around there. And he, in the 60s, was a weatherman, and he was introduced to the tall whites that have that base and working with the government. And he said, he had lots of different interactions with them. He's still talking about it. And he even said that what they used to do sometimes is dress up. They were a bit taller than most humans. I think they were, as tall as maybe 7 foot or whatever. They used to dress up in human clothes and go to Las Vegas and actually see what it's like in the casinos and what have you as well. And he talked all about that. And that's Charles Hall. This is just one example of those that are more humanoid are able to wander around amongst us without us even being aware of it. And they've been doing this for millennia. This isn't just a new phenomena or whatever, because what we need to go back to, Rob, and I want to remind people, because people say, oh, we hear about these hybrids, are they going to come and take over the world? And I said, well, actually, we're all hybrids, and we have taken over the world because we were engineered many, many millennia ago. We had Neanderthals, Cro-Magnon, and many others, Denisonians and whatever. There was the missing link, and then Homo sapiens sapiens suddenly appeared out of the blue with twice the brain size. And we're told that maybe there's many as at least 12 different species that have, if you like, adjusted our human genetics and added some of their own. Some say even 22, as many as 22. So they've been monitoring us as a hybrid species for millennia, and they have been misunderstood in my opinion, in many races, because they were seen as gods. They were seen as, because of their technology, they were believed to be gods. But I don't believe any of them were gods at all. They just were, advanced civilizations that were coming and in many cases helping us. I mean, the Aborigines called the Wandjina here, one of the intelligences that shows them how to grow things, how to find water, how to look after themselves.
And we're going to hold right there, Mary, and we'll finish this on the other side of the break. Guys, right here on Spaced Out Radio, the After Hours Radio Show. Be right back with Mary Rodwell. Don't you go anywhere. We'll see you in a minute. All right, we are clear. Yeah, I definitely want you to finish that thought on the other side of the break. Let's see. We welcome in some people that came in late. I call these people tardy for the party. These guys are tardy for the party, and I'm calling them out. But it's a friendly call out. It means I love you. If I'm calling you out, it means I love you guys. And so this is what I'm doing here. Let me see who came in late here tonight. We have. Let me go back a little bit here. The last person I called out was Miss Catherine Jones, because I see her out there. No, it's Robert Lamont Jr., I think it was, right? Robert Lamont Jr. Okay, now we got Benno from Oz out there. Appreciate you coming in. We got Mike Jones, Who Mike Jones. Appreciate you coming on in. Mike Jones. Magneticus Attractus. Thank you for coming on in, sir. Appreciate you showing on up. Saw that grok thing you did, man. It was hilarious, dude. Appreciate you. Really do appreciate you, sir. Let's see. Let's see who else that came in late, tardy for the party. Kai Snyder. Kai Snyder. Appreciate you coming on in. Let's see. Who else? Who else? Who else? Oh, thank you, Kitty Catty Wag. Love you, Rob. You always bring us stellar, fantastical guest information, and you being a host, we appreciate you. You're gonna make me tear up here, Kitty Catty Wag. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. Love this support and appreciate it though. Definitely, definitely. Um, and it wouldn't be a show if I didn't have awesome support from guests like Mary Rodwell. She comes in and be's her awesome self, and we have a great show. Aussie Ozzy, hey ho, let's go. Appreciate you coming on in. Assuming you're coming in from the land down under as well. Thanks for showing up here tonight. Um, let's see, who else do we have? Dead Fish Cheese Spread. Love the name. And appreciate you coming in. It's been a minute since I've seen your name. Appreciate you showing on up here to the show here tonight. Stargazer. That says it all. Appreciate you coming on in, Stargazer. Thanks for showing up here tonight. Let's see. JSCO77 saying thank you for coming, Mary. Appreciate you, sir, coming on in and joining us here tonight. Kurt W75. Hey, Robin, everyone, with the alien head emoji. Appreciate you showing up. We got Adam B saying howdy, Mary. Appreciate you. Trying to get, we got a couple minutes. I think I can get to everyone. Poncho Zork. Whoa. Appreciate you. I haven't seen you in a while. Poncho Zork, thanks for coming on in. Hello, SOR weirdos and the like. We're becoming less weird by the day. It's crazy. We're becoming less weird by the day. Um, let's see. Amy Alo. Hey, what up, Rob? What up, everybody? Hello, Mary. We appreciate you showing up to the show tonight. I'll make sure we don't miss anybody. Try to get everybody during this break here. See, we got Benno. I saw Benno. Oh, we got Michelle, aka Mish. Appreciate you coming in. Good day, Mary. Blessed to have had the honor of meeting you years ago. So she met you. Oh, that's awesome. So the good day means you're from the land down under as well. I got it. Let's see. Yeah, so awesome that this could be a global conversation. I just love that part of it. Jerry Carter, thanks for coming on in. Appreciate you showing on up. They may smell like cat pee and regret. I don't know, man. Maybe some. I've heard some smell like ammonia, man. And maybe that's maybe where the cat pee comes from. Yeah, okay, I got you. Appreciate you coming on in. Jeff Garvey, appreciate you showing on up. Jeff Garvey to the show tonight. Let's see, we're coming close. We try to get everybody in because everyone counts. You all count, and I really want to make sure that we get to you all here. That was Jerry Carter, Matt Goodka. Matt Goodka, thanks for coming on in. Who else is out here? Who else do we got? Woo Riders DG. Appreciate you, sir. Salute to you. Thank you for coming on in. Kim Jellin. Thank you for coming. Tardy for the party. Thanks for coming in. Got about 30 seconds left here. Yeah, okay. I'm seeing some questions already, all caps. If you do post them, and I'll make sure I tag them. You can start doing them now if you want to. Bob Thorson, appreciate you coming in, saying awesome guest. I agree, sir. I agree. Parasolo, thanks for coming in. We got Dolly Saffron in the building. Heart emojis. Hey, Dolly, thanks for coming in as well. Enjoying the show tonight. Okay, we got Adam B. All right, I think we're current. We're going to call it current. We're coming back in 5 seconds, guys. All right, everybody. Welcome back. Spaced Out Radio, the After Hours Radio Show with me, your host, Mr. Rob G. We are back with Miss Mary Rodwell, joining us from Lounge Down Under, UFO researcher, contactee, also regression therapist, hypnotherapist, author, long list of accolades. I read them earlier in the show. Guess what? You can go and rewind and see those because the archives are absolutely free. They don't cost a dime. YouTube.com/Spaced Out Radio. As we get back into the conversation, Mary, the break cut you off mid-sentence. Do you recall where you were at? I know you were giving us some good information leading into that break. Do you remember where you left off?
I was talking about, I think, the gods and the fact that we are all, if you like, intelligently designed. Dr. Francis Crick talked about that in his he's co-founder of the DNA molecule. I mean, he won the prize for that at the end of the day. And of course, the big issue has been that it's been hidden from most of the public. Even geneticists have been keeping very quiet about the fact that we have odd genetics and what have you. But what's fascinating about the genetic side of it is that we only have 5 to 10% that is recognized as what it actually does. The rest, they called it junk litter. Well, I believe that that's part of our DNA we don't yet understand, is part of our connection to our extraterrestrial heritage. And I think, is slowly being activated to make us more aware multidimensionally. And the reason I say that is because what's happening is many of those that are having experiences are having what I call downloads of information. Some of it they understand, some of it they don't. And I think that's part of the catalyst for activating our DNA. And that's really the crux of what's going on now. Because people say to me, how do you know that they're positive, that they're not here to harm us or whatever? How do you interpret that? And I said, well, look, it seems like there's many, many intelligences. Some say as many as 100 different intelligences, maybe more, visiting this planet. Some of them are going to have different agendas to others. But the biggest agenda that gives you the best, if you like, criteria for working out whether or not these intelligences are for our overall benefit. When we did the surveys with the Dr. Ed Mitchell Free Foundation, and we asked the outcome for many people that had had these extraordinary experiences, 85% had a psycho-spiritual shift in consciousness, transformation. They changed their diet, they changed their perspective, they became more holistic, they wanted to have more holistic lifestyles and more rural lifestyles, and their whole energy and focus changed in a really positive way. So I think that's a pretty good indication that for the most part, this is those intelligences wishing the best for humanity. And I think that's the best indicator of all.
And you talked about a little earlier about the humanoid, sort of human-like extraterrestrials that walk among us. And then you talked about how those are the ones working with the governments, because that for me just makes more sense, in total sense, because on the face of it, when someone says, yeah, okay, the government's working side by side with extraterrestrials, and you automatically think like gray aliens or these reptilians people talk about, and it just doesn't seem like that could work. But if you have human-like extraterrestrials, obviously it'd be very easy to work alongside human beings, and that makes a lot of sense. And I would think that after you said that those would be the ones that would be working with human beings, at Area 51 and all these other places. That makes total sense. Let me ask you this: the one as is, being that some of these things may be interacting with us in everyday life, what is there? What do you think they have an effect on society, or do they have a more of a standoff approach when dealing with us? Do they not try to kind of influence us or get into our business essentially, or do they kind of just observe from up close?
I think it's multiple ways they interact with us. Some of them are, we're told, some of them are just visitors. They've come from other places and they are interested in planet Earth and the human race, and they've come to just observe or what have you. Others have come to influence, and I am sure there are certain of those on our planet that are influencing the way we live and our society in various ways. And I wouldn't be in the least surprised if some of those influences that we have on this planet are not necessarily human. But what you have to understand, and people need to understand, is that many of our, I work with people who believe they're star seeds, and that's not just adults, that's children as well, who talk about their family, and their family, they may identify the star system as the Pleiades or Andromeda or Arcturus or Sirius or Orion, and saying, that's my family. And I've come here in human form to help the planet evolve and consciousness evolve. And that, when you've got, let me explain, one 7-year-old, just as an example, was telling me that she was a hybrid, that she's part human, part blue avian. And then she explained where her planet is, what it's like on her planet. She explained that she can heal, and she uses frequencies to heal, star languages. And she said that she can turn on the healing of other people so they can heal themselves. And this is a 7-year-old explaining quite articulately. This is how she understands herself. So are they influencing us on a physical level? Yes. And also through our generations of human, where they are adding more of their DNA. And these people will say, I just know I'm a hybrid. And I'll say, how do you know? Because I am connected to this particular star system. I go up on board craft. They show me things that I need to know. I'll give you an example for those that can see the picture in the back of my office. I had an 8-year-old come into my office with his mum and immediately went up to the picture and said, I've been there. He said, one of the planets there, he said, is actually bigger than it's in the picture. But I've gone there and I go through that to other dimensions and other places. He was 8 years old, and he said his ancestors were the mantis beings, and that when he dies, he's going to go back to being a mantis. And talked about going up on the craft. He explained that sometimes he goes with a couple of school friends. He explained that they get taught to use their mind and how to manipulate matter. He then explained to me that they often are taught very complex things. And I said to him, complex things, can you explain to me what complex things you were taught? And he looked me straight in the eye and said, no, because it's too complex for you. So I was told very clearly that exactly that. And I said to him, do you ever talk to the 2 school friends that go there with you and ask them if they remember? And he got very upset and looked at his mum and said, Mum wouldn't let me because she said it wouldn't be a good idea. And I said, I actually was very upset because I wanted to ask them as well. And his mother explained that she didn't want her son to be seen as weird and wonderful. So she actually advised him not to talk about it. But this is what I mean. We've got children across the globe. I've written about them and their stories in my second book, The New Human, because their stories are absolutely extraordinary, even though they don't see it as extraordinary. They see it as that's part of their reality. But the biggest issue for them is seeing how we operate on this planet and struggling with it because it doesn't fit with their knowing and their awareness. And they realize that they can't talk about certain things because of how they're going to be judged. And, they're often seen as weird or whatever, or neurodivergent, which is the name now given to ADHDs and Asperger's and autism and dyslexic, are all different forms of that. These are the new humans coming in. They're coming in and they are different. They certainly are neurodivergent because I believe these intelligences want to prevent them being programmed into the old system and for them to retain their awareness. And that is absolutely essential now if we're to evolve.
Wow. And you kind of just answered the question that I had, because I was going to ask you about the hybridized children, what being their purpose, because they often show them to, I guess, the human counterpart. And then I was just wondering, why what is their purpose? What purpose do they serve in this whole movement? And then why are being that they focus in have these hybridized children, they show them to human counterparts, then are they also interested in our human kids, like the ones here on Earth? Do they focus or uh do they focus their attention to human children more? I guess maybe more than adults.
I think, well, the adults want the children. I mean, the bottom line is that they've been monitoring I believe, our civilizations through the centuries, and they've gradually been doing what I would call an upgrade, I believe. I mean, many of our geniuses, I think, were star seeds or perhaps hybrids that were given the information and bringing that all in. Leonardo da Vinci, I suspect, is one of them, that he was probably in contact or whatever, because they download scientific information, hidden knowledge, a whole range of understanding that's coming right down to the rest of us. I mean, let me explain to you. I was talking to a 90-year-old lady in a care assisted home, telling me that she'd had interactions with beings all her life. And what was really fascinating, I'll tell you this, I don't know what your listeners will make of it, but she said to me, I just wanted to be able to finally tell my story without somebody laughing at me or not wanting to hear me or being afraid of what I'm going to talk about. And she said, and I know that you'll listen. And I said, tell me what. And she told me a whole range of her experiences, right from a small child. And she said she was visited when they had all the floods, and this is in Australia, somewhere down south, where they had 3 days where there was a blackout. There was no electricity, nothing. They couldn't move anywhere because of the floods. And she said it was total shutdown. And she was told by the beings that they wanted her to experience that and not to be afraid, because there is going to be in the future, the near future, a blackout across the planet for 3 days where everything's going to shut down. Everything. But they said after that, everything will come right, but not to be afraid of the 3-day shutdown. So whether that happens or not, a complete blackout across the planet is what she told me. She said, I needed to tell you that. So you can make of that, Rob, whatever you make of it. But that's what she told me.
I've been watching a guy, I'll shout him out, Stephen Burns on YouTube. He does a lot of space stuff, and he's talking about these solar flares, some of these huge magnitude flares that have been popping off lately, the last month or so. Especially, he was saying maybe it's something to do with the amount of comments that we have coming through right now. But I'm talking about huge blast, and they're sending out alerts that potentially one of these could affect the planet Earth, maybe cause a blackout. So that kind of lines up with what I've been seeing online about these solar flares, and that's pretty significant to know, because that might bring that prophecy true. Now, you did also touch on some of the geniuses in the world potentially, either being partially, hybrids essentially, or humans that have been fully awakened. And it for me, what I always thought about geniuses of the world, I'm like, okay, we're all the same essentially. Like you yourself, me, anyone can be a genius. They talk about that we can only tap into, I think it's been said different numbers, 10% of, we only use 10% of our brain. Some say more, but I think what it is geniuses have figured out how to access that other part of the brain, the part that most of us don't use. And I think if we all knew how to access that unused part of the brain, that's where all that data comes from, and all those ideas and things of that nature come from that. And it just kind of resonated with me when you said that, because I didn't think about the extraterrestrial side and the hybrid side. That could be simply downloads that they're getting directly from said extraterrestrial species, or it could be an awakened human being that is just able to access that unused portion of the brain, which is amazing. You talk about well, let me actually ask you this. the alien intervention aspect, that's essentially what the show is about. So what does alien intervention look like to you as far as humanity goes? We're going through a crazy time right now. The energy is at an all-time low globally, and we're in the need for something. Is it alien intervention that kind of gets us out of this rut? And kind of, I don't know. I'm still searching for the answer for that. I just wanted your perspective on that, if you wouldn't mind.
Well, it's a good question, because I get asked, is the spaceship's going to come and sort it all out or whatever? The star nations, for want of a better word, that have been interacting with humanity from the very beginning, have been monitoring us and our progress. And of course, the big issue came up when we started using nuclear power and nuclear bombs, because apparently that was a no-no, because my understanding is that interferes with space-time and dimensions. So it's very, very dangerous. And of course, we're behaving like 3-year-olds with a loaded gun, not realizing the gun can kill people. And what they've had to do was raise our consciousness so that we understand the consequences. But they have been visiting and turning off nuclear missiles right across the globe, whether people are aware of it or not. There's their intervention. They've done it in Bentwaters, Rendlesham Forest in England, in Suffolk. They've done it in many military establishments over in America and other places, where basically they've seen craft, and the next thing they know is the craft have sent down frequencies to turn off and deprogram the nukes. So this is, and I'm sure if it's happened in the US, which I know it has, Robert Salas talks about that because he was present when one of these things happened. I think his book, Faded Giant, I met Robert a number of times, a wonderful gentleman who talks about this now. But there are it plainly happened in other countries as well. It won't just have happened in Britain and the US or whatever, probably in places like China and Russia and all the major nations. So yes, they do interfere when it gets to a point where they think we're going to really damage things. But their other way of working is to make sure that the new generations of human are a little bit more awake, a little bit more aware. And by doing that, they will often create new hybrids with more of their DNA as part of it, but also switching on more of the human DNA. No, very few people realize just what a powerhouse our DNA could be. And the fact is that 1 gram of DNA can take on as much information as in the internet. In other words, just 1 gram, that much information just on the internet. What is also held in our dormant DNA that we don't have a clue about, which could be activated at any point. And I think some of the things, the shamanic journeys, the near-death experience, the Kundalini awakening, all those kind of things activate more of that awareness, and we become more and more multidimensional. And I think the frequencies entering the planet now are part of the frequencies that are activating more of our higher consciousness. And that's why so many people now are waking up, because of the frequencies, the solar flares, the other frequencies, and the frequencies these new children, these new generations of children are bringing in. And they're bringing in the frequencies that are literally moving into all around them. You've got a frequency, you're interacting with people, you're actually affecting those people on an energetic level, whether or not you realize it or not. And this is what these children are actually doing. So more and more people are realizing there is a greater reality, and they're getting drawn to spiritual practices, which also activate more of the DNA. And what I believe, the downloads that are coming in, where people get codes, they get scientific information, they get what's known as languages or star languages that they come in with. And some are working through musicians, for example, as well, with the frequencies in music and whatever. And they find that they are different through that. And I think that's all part of the new software for the more activated human. It's waiting as a kind of program to assist us when we actually expand more. What are my jobs? And you've talked about me being a clinical hypnotherapist and a counselor. When I work with someone, There's another way that I work. They can either go into hypnosis and find out about their experience, missing time or whatever. They want to review that and see what they don't remember. But there's another way. If they're starting to see orbs of light or feel presences around them or feel like they're having a communication with some intelligence, whether or not it's their inner voice or whether or not it's another intelligence, I can show them how to work with that to get the answers and understanding, because I believe we're being led to understanding that we can communicate telepathically with these intelligences once we honor it and we're not afraid of it. And for many now, that's what's happening. They're communicating with other intelligence. They never talk about it. They can be, after all, they might be a professor at a university, or they might be a medical psychiatrist, or they might be, so they can't talk about it. But my clients are right across the globe, and some of them have been professors and whatever. And they say, I know, I'm having conversations with this intelligence. It's a blue being and it's whatever. And they're saying, it'd be really good if you can help me feel more confident about it. So I'm assisting people to work multidimensionally, telepathically with these individuals. I know a veterinary surgeon that communicates with animals, and she even communicates with animals that have passed on. And she tells the owners what the pets are saying to her so that they can understand what's going on. So this is coming out. More and more people communicating with animals, communicating with trees, plants. And this is happening. This is not rare. This is time and time again. Somebody says, you're going to think I'm crazy, but I know that I can communicate with my dog or my cat or whatever. And so I don't think you're crazy at all, because why not? Why not?
It's true. I freaking talk to my dog all the time. We communicate. It's definitely communication there. And on the awareness side of things, it's like when I think about a graph, it's like it's been gradually going up. But then the last, I'd say 5 years, is kind of just shot straight up. And we had, for instance, COVID back in 2020. And when I bring these events up, I'm pointing to events that captured global attention, to where we had everyone's attention on one issue, and it started in 2020. And I didn't think, I was like, oh, we kind of missed the boat on that because it's over. Everyone's back to their normal business. And we missed the opportunity to really kind of talk to the people while we had their attention. I was like, would we ever get another chance like that? And then here we go. We had the drone situation pop up earlier this year, where the world was captivated. We had everyone thinking about other, what this potentially could be. We had focus, and then we missed that boat. And I was like, oh my gosh, twice, and then we're not going to have another one. Then we had 3i Atlas just come here right now. We had there's other events that I could point to, and it just seems like it's continuously being put in our face, the opportunity to be one and focus on something at once, so this message could be delivered. And I think we're getting to the point to where we have enough people who have been at least thinking about this topic now, that the next time we have that global stage, and it could be now with what we're going through now, to be able to deliver that message. So I just wanted to say that before we go to break, but we'll be right back with Mary Rodwell right after this, guys. Don't go anywhere.
Conversations that move the needle. You're listening to After Hours with Mr. Rob G on the only place where you can own the night. Spaced Out Radio. Spaced Out Radio. You've tuned your dial to the right frequency.
All right, we're clear. And Mary, we're off camera for 5 minutes, so I'll see you back here in a moment.
Okay, all good.
Right. Welcome back. Spaced Out Radio, After Hours Radio Show with me, your host, Mr. Rob G. We still have about 30 seconds before we come back from the actual break. So I'm just taking Mel WD-40's advice here. He has great advice here. Please take the time to hit the like button. We got a few seconds before we start back on hour 2. Just look it right under your screen. You should have a little thumbs up button or thumbs down. Just hit either one. Then also, please take a moment to leave a comment after the show. Let us know how you felt. Either way, good or bad, let us know. We would like to know. Coming back right now. All right, everybody, welcome back. Spaced Out Radio, the After Hours Radio Show with me, your host, Mr. Rob G. We are back with Mary Rodwell. She's from the other side of the world. She's joining us. It's like 2 p.m. where she's at on the other side of the globe. Awesome that she decided to come in and join us. She's an author, researcher, hypnotherapist. We've been talking deep about the UFO topic, alien intervention, all that good stuff. If you missed any of it, we always tell you the archives are free. That's why they're free, so you can go back and check out what you missed. As we get back into the conversation here, I was saying right before the break, and we ran out of time because I did want to get your response to that, Mary. I was talking about, it seems like things are ramping up. We were on a progression, obviously, over time. We'd say go back to the 40s when all these researchers were fighting to get this going. It was a slow progression, and then we hit a point to where it's just shooting straight up. And I pointed out, a time where, because usually society and governments love to keep us separate and at odds with each other, because then they can, we don't get to use our superpower as human beings to come together and ascend as human beings. So, I've always thought the only way it would work is if we had moments where we had everyone's attention. And I pointed out in 2020, we had a period of time where we had everyone's attention, but we kind of fumbled the ball on that. That was time to kind of indoctrinate or get a message out there while everyone was watching. We missed that. We have the drone situation come in, which was sort of extraterrestrial related, or at least the conversation was that. And they were there every day. People were scared and concerned. Emotions were kind of involved with that. So it was perfect time to kind of deliver something there. We missed that. Then we get into this current low energy thing that we're in right now. 3-Eye Atlas as well was something that it came by. And we're just having all these opportunities to kind of talk to the world while we have their attention. And I think some of it is working. We had the Age of Disclosure, which I think is a timely release for that documentary, because it's happening at a time where we do have the attention of most of the world. And I think it's kind of working because we're getting an influx of new people coming in. And it seems like, we're setting ourselves up for that moment of ascension. It really feels like that. You've been researching and been observing this for, some years now. Do you see that the same way? And kind of what is the trajectory on this? And how do you feel about where we're going?
Well, Rob, it's a good question. I think there are multiple influences going on right now. I mean, for all that I've been told by various sources that these intelligences have got fed up with the way the governments have taken so long to come out and tell the truth, that they're basically giving them, and I'm going to use an Aussie term, okay, it's called the bum's rush. And basically said, get your finger out, it's time you start, or if you don't do it, we will. So I don't think they're doing it willingly. I think they're doing it because they've got no choice, and they want to get in, and if they can, orchestrate the narrative to suit them. What they haven't taken into account is the many, I'm not saying just millions, probably billions of contactees around the globe that are also being given the okay to talk about their experiences. Many of those that I've talked to that are older generations have said to me that when they were a child and had experiences, or even as a young adult, that the message was, you don't talk about this. You don't talk about this, plainly because it wasn't the right time. And yet now it seems that they've got the message, you must start talking about this now, and getting the okay to do so. So that's one of the things that is going on without people realizing it, that there's been this kind of permission to start now talking because they want that happening. The thing with the whole COVID side of it, the positive around all of that was it gave people space and time to work out a lot more about what's actually going on in their lives, because it stopped them from, being on the conveyor belt of work. And so they had more time to think about, what am I doing? Why am I living like this? This isn't life. This is slavery. All this kind of stuff's going on, and giving them a chance to shift consciousness and to start looking at their lives and changing their lives. So that was the positive, I believe. A kind of awakening happened. Not that it was meant to happen that way, but I think that's exactly what did happen. And getting people to question, and through the questioning, realizing there was a bigger picture here. So that was the positive of that. And one of the interesting things that happened, and it happened at 2012 as well, the numbers of people that say, I was going along as an ordinary person, doing the usual things, just trying to make enough, money to feed my family and my kids and all the rest of it, not thinking twice about my life in any bigger way. Then all of a sudden this all happened. And now my whole focus has changed. I don't want to live like that anymore. And so what they're doing is that their awareness has accelerated in terms of multidimensionally. And as I say, they start to feel energies. They might start to pick up information. They may find themselves having downloads of information. All of this has occurred since this whole shift in that happened via the COVID strategies that went on. So instead of dumbing people down, it actually woke them up, and it woke them up on multiple levels. And it happened, as I say, at 2012, when I asked people, well, when did you start to see things differently? And they've often said 2012. So something happened in 2012, and the COVID happened, 10 years later or whatever, 12 years later or whatever. So there's something that occurred there that was a special frequency, I think. And it's just accelerated because those that wake up are waking up others. It's sort of a kind of knock-on effect that's actually happening. So there is a movement now of people that are wanting to share their story, wanting to be open about it, writing books about it. And even the acceptance of this in mainstream has been quite dramatic. When I used to talk about this 10 years ago, the same old, X-Files music would come on and all the rest of it, Do You Believe and all the rest. Now it's completely different. There's a new respect in mainstream about this whole issue, where they're looking at it far more seriously and whatever. And it's about time, let's face it, that they do. Because people are seeing stuff, and more people are looking up and seeing stuff. Many people have got cameras now that they can take pictures of what they're seeing, and it's everywhere. It's absolutely everywhere. You're seeing some incredible pictures, and I know some of them may very well have been photoshopped or whatever, but not all of them. By no means all of them.
And I say to skeptics all the time, they're like, I haven't seen anything. They don't exist. I'm like, do you skywatch? Like, have you taken time to just kind of sit and maybe just look up? Have you done that? And the answer is usually no. And it just blows me away that those people who haven't taken the time to even just take half of their day or quarter of their day and kind of just gaze up at the beautiful heavens that we have up there, you're going to see something, because they're up there and they're up there all the time. So you're bound to see something. It's like, for sure. You got to quit looking down at these phones and tablets and look up. And that's one of the things that frustrates me. But as we just talked about, I think you're absolutely right. And I said that as well with the whole COVID situation. It just seemed like, if you look back before that, I know you mentioned 2012, but the frequency of events that allowed humanity to kind of just focus on the same issue at once were far and few between. We hadn't had any, and then all of a sudden we have like 5 in a row within the last 5 years, and that is not by mistake, I don't think, or by coincidence. I think that those events are purposely being set up in order for us to be able to focus on the same thing. You talked about during the COVID period, yeah, people realized that they didn't have to do that. There was one of the biggest mass exodus from jobs during that time where people felt like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. I want to do something else. I want to live my life a different way. So a lot of people left jobs. They also found out, oh, I don't have to go to an office building every day. I can actually do this work from home. I don't have to leave home. I don't have to spend gas. I don't have to do all that stuff. And then the crazy part about it is we have an example of the powers that be that created this society attempting to kind of put the toothpaste back in the tube by telling people uh, they need to go back to the office now. Like, no, you don't. You don't have. No, you shouldn't have to. And so when you see that, it's just an example, a tangible example of them realizing, like, whoa, this is getting out of control. They're getting too free. They're getting too open-minded as human beings. And we need to try to put them back into the machine and make sure that that's where they stay. And I think that's, it just shows that effort from that part, but they're not going to be able to stop what we're doing. You can't put toothpaste back in the tube. I've tried to do it. You can't do it. It's impossible. So, yeah, I don't think they can stop this wave. And I think we're definitely going to that ascension point. It's just what is going to be that climactic moment? Like, what do you anticipate being the thing that the straw that breaks the camel's back? Like, do you think there will be one event or something that will just do it? Or how do you think this is going to come in?
Well, a lot of people talk, Rob, about an event. And what's interesting is the many hundreds that I've spoken to who are already intuitive, already communicating or whatever, have talked about an event. But none of them can be particularly specific about what that event is, other than it will be paradigm shifting for the planet. Literally, no one will escape what it is. And I've tried to sort of ask my non-human team, if you like, and they say, you can't know, Mary. It's sort of like you've just got to wait for it, because you won't be able to conceive how it is or how it's going to happen or whatever. So in my own intuition, along with those many hundreds I've spoken to, talk and call it an event, a life-changing perspective on this planet for everyone. So goodness knows what that exactly means. Maybe it's just as well we don't know, because it's apparently a way beyond what we can possibly imagine or conceive. And as far as I'm concerned, it's, let it happen. I've come down here on this planet to be part of whatever it is. I'd be very pissed off, Rob, if I ended up, not lasting long enough to see whatever it is this event is. It's like you don't get to see the end of the book, the end of the story. And I'd be extremely pissed off if I wasn't around for that. So for however long I'm going to still be on this planet, I want to at least see whatever it is before they take me off it, But I think what's interesting to me is a wonderful gentleman I know in England that wrote the book, Does It Rain in Other Dimensions? And one of the things he wrote about was that when he was 4 years old, he was told that something major was going to happen on this planet, and the light that's coming to change everything, not in his mother's lifetime, but in his lifetime. And he's still with us. He's not very well, but he's still with us. And I've always remembered that. So while it's going to happen in his lifetime, and he's, as I say, he's still with us now. So I suspect the fact that he'd come out with something so profound at 4 years old to tell his mum this, and it was going to change everything, and it was going to affect everything. This light that was coming was going to change the whole world. And I put a lot of credence in that, simply because of the age of him and the profound understanding that he had at that age about what was going to happen. So I think it'll be watch this space.
Yeah, I can't wait. And I think that moment is coming. I think I think the global attention, I think it's no turning back on that. I think the momentum is too strong right now because, as you said, no more X-Files music. When I see, and this literally happened in the last couple of years, where I see news anchor. Well, there's still one news anchor, and she was snickering and kind of didn't know much about. I'm like, get her off. Let somebody else do that. Luckily, it was a local news station, but she was interviewing Ivy Lowe. But for the most part, these national news outlets, I'm seeing them definitely take this seriously. I'm seeing concern on some of their faces when they ask these questions. And it's like, yeah, that's where we should be at, because it's like you should be interested in wanting answers. And it seems like that's the approach now. And that's been our approach. So you kind of can identify with where they're at in the process. And then also the fact that, we have so many new people coming in who have never even thought about this subject and are kind of just like, wow, like UFOs are real. Like, yeah, they're up in the sky every single day. And so we're getting people to come around that curve.
Yeah.
And I think media, because media, it like film, documentaries are so popular that when the timing is right, if you drop different projects at the right time, I think that helps with the momentum, as well as a lot of. And I spoke about this like a year and a half ago. I said we need influencers. We need some of the top influencers out there on social media to kind of start talking about and paying attention to the subject. That's happening now. You have some of the biggest influencers out there who have never talked about this subject at all, doing episodes about this and talking about this to their audience. So it seems like all the stars and planets are aligning for this to happen, along with what we just talked about earlier. And it just seems like it's come to that point. It's not just, oh, the government's talking about it now. They're admitting things. Oh, they're having congressional hearings. That's on the back burner. That's on the side. It's not somewhere. That's on the side. And we have actually the rest of society and humanity kind of taking the wheel right now, which I feel is awesome. And I think that's going to get us there.
I think that people wonder, that the old chestnut that people aren't ready and all that rubbish. I think that's now rubbish. If we can handle it, and you and me are no different to everybody else, we've just become researchers and become informed. And then you see that there's nothing more logical than the fact that we're not the only intelligent life in the universe. Thank heavens for that, because that would be a bit of a worry otherwise, wouldn't it? So, I mean, it's only logical in anybody's book that there are other intelligent species out there, and that they may very well be many thousands of years ahead of us, in advance of us in terms of technology, and able to visit and pilot craft in a different kind of physics than we understand. But what people don't realize is part of the reason for the cover-up is because of the technology that they have now, the reverse engineered technology, the technology that could change this planet forever and take away the power structure, because some of it is free energy. For one thing, that's just one of the things that they actually have access to. And that's just one of the many, many different technologies. Healing technologies, for example, are another one. And if we had the technology, some have said they've got technology 30 years in advance of what we're being given. And I mean, we got the fiber optics, night vision, for example. They're two things that came from reverse engineered of the craft. But everything is being slowed up, profits made from it. And then we're given the next thing when they're, at least in terms of the whistleblowers, at least 30 years in advance, maybe to 100 years in advance of technology that would take away the pollution, the way that we operate on this planet completely. And that means that those in power will no longer have access to the trillions of dollars that they've had access to through giving us limited technology. And that's behind, really, I believe, 80% of the secrecy, because too many people have got too much to lose once this all comes out. And we live in a society that is free of pollution. I mean, free energy. Can you imagine how that would change? Just thinking of getting around the planet in the ways with new technology, anti-grav technology, for example, which they have this. They already have so many different things that we can't even imagine the spin-off. So why is it being kept quiet? Because they can make too much darn money out of it by keeping it quiet. So let's get real. It's all about money, isn't it? money and power at the end of the day. And that's nothing to do with your psyche and whether or not they're protecting your psyche. This is to do with seeing how much they can screw you. That's the bottom line.
Sadly, yeah, that's very true. It's the 1% making decisions for the 99%, and the math doesn't add up. 99% versus 1%. And it's all because of money, which you're absolutely right. And I talk to people all the time. I'm like, truthfully, if you think about it, money, you can devalue money. We can, as a society, can devalue money. We can turn it into paper. We can turn it into monopoly money. It's all paper. It's no different. It's paper. We put a value on it, and if we took the value away from that, then it would be worth nothing. And then the 1% couldn't control the 99%. See, and that's the thing. That's where we need to go. It sounds wild because we use money every day to do, get through life and do the things we have to do. But if we had the opportunity to devalue the dollar, I think that would just shift things immediately, because the money is the power. And when you take the power away from that 1%, then guess what? It's just 1%. And then you have 99% that are trying to get to where we're going. And that's how you reshift the balance here on this planet. And it's just something, unfortunately, we're going to have to do. Stock markets are going to crash behind this UFO thing. And guess what? It should happen. It sounds wild because way society is built, but it's definitely something that I think needs to happen as part of that catastrophic disclosure, the ontological shock, all the things that we're going to go through. Before we go to break here, we have about 2 minutes. I did want to ask you about so we talked about extraterrestrials, the ones that walk among us like human-like means. And we talk about, if they're here full time, or where do they live in homes, or do they go back home? The ones that are living like under the sea, the ones that may be here full time, we understand they may have bases under the ocean. That's what a lot of people feel. But where else do you think, like if we wanted to go out and find them tomorrow, where do you think we would find them? Where would be some places to look?
Under the surface of the ground as well, in facilities down underground. And many people have come across them when they've been caving, or they've gone exploring or whatever, and found these beings. And there's supposed to be quite a few civilizations underground on our very planet. And that's not the ones that are on the moon, of course, which is another complete ball game, where there are perhaps many species on the moon, inside of the moon, if you like, as well. So it's not just the oceans, but it's actually under our very feet, very likely. There are civilizations living there quite comfortably, and coming to the surface when they so desire to. This is, the primitive people talked about the ant people that they know. The African indigenous peoples talk about the ant people. So there are many different, from what I understand, many different forms of intelligence underground as well.
And then when we talk about the moon, obviously it makes just total sense when we never see the backside of the moon. So if we were going to approach a planet and it was the same situation, that's where we would post our base too. That's definitely what we would do. But then we talk about being inside the moon. And I was just brought to the realization, because you think about, the people talk about the moon being this mechanical thing. I don't know if I go with that, but someone did explain that, through the formation of the moon, at one time it was active with the inside was active with lava. Then they have lava tubes up there, is what they're stating. Essentially caves like we have here on the moon, natural caves, and this would be the perfect place for someone to kind of hide out and post up. So it all makes total sense. And I'm about logic and what makes sense, and then we can branch out from there. But as we go ahead and get ready to go into the final break of the night, guys, make sure you get your questions together. We have a few. Post more for our guest tonight, Mary Rodwell. We only have 23 minutes left with her after the break. So, guys, make it count. Right here, Spaced Out Radio and After Hours Radio Show. Me, your host, Mr. Rob G. I'll see you right back here after the break. right, we are clear. We have more people that are tardy for the party. So we're gonna see some new names, and they're saying, "Hey, Mary, Mary." So I want to make sure that we bring you guys to the forefront here. And you've been having awesome comments here tonight. I've been watching them. I can't talk to them during the show, but I'm definitely reading them, and awesome stuff from you guys out there. But I expect nothing less. I expect nothing less from you guys. Um, we do have trolls in the chat too. So when you see those troll messages pop up, please, troll patrol, please make sure you do your job on that. We would appreciate that. Let's see. Okay, I missed this question. Glad I went back to see this. Let's see. Okay. All right, Charles. I want to make sure I shouted you out. He said, "Love the show, Mr. Rob." Hey, I appreciate that. We just try to do what we do. We have conversations to move the needle, and I think that's the important thing and the thing we should be doing. So I appreciate you with the acknowledgement there. Let's see. Mr. Melted. I didn't see. He said, hold on, let me get you here. Oh God, I just lost you. Mr. Melted said, "Tardy for the party." If I could find you. You know you said it. I know you said it. So if I find it, I'll put it up. Appreciate you. Let's see. Who else do we have? E. Dungarian. I don't know if I said hi to you earlier. If not, hello and thank you for coming on in. We appreciate you showing up to the show tonight. Okay. And there you are, Mr. Melted, tardy for the party. Absolutely correct. Which is okay. It's definitely because we have an archive that you could rewind at any time. So it's awesome that you showed up. Let's see. Okay. Who else? I saw, let me get down. April. April saying greetings. Thank you for coming on in. David Kenyak, appreciate you coming on in. Jose Sanchez, thanks for showing up. User PF9NU5GQ1E, thank you so much for coming into the show tonight. Let's see. Mel Tulip, appreciate you coming on in. And I am getting the people that were tardy. Let's see. Brenda Beamer Ford, appreciate you coming on in. Joe Davis, appreciate you coming on in. Rob, bro, the G stands for cool dude. I like that. I like that. Appreciate you. Edwin Guerra, appreciate you coming on in. Flat Sixer, did I say hi to you earlier? I love Flat Sixer. Flat Sixer, hello for the second or third time. I'm getting old. Let's see. Edwin Guerra. Let's see. We got everybody. Let's see who else. Who else is out there? AJ, appreciate you coming on in. SORLFG. Yes, appreciate you. The Nicholas family, appreciate you. SOR, checking out Mr. Rob tonight. Yeah, new name too. If you wouldn't mind, guys, take the time to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button as well. Let us know. Let's try to get over 100 likes tonight before the end of the show. That would be awesome. We have awesome guests like Mary Rodwell, and we need at least 100 likes. So go ahead and let's do that. We'd appreciate it, and share this video to friends and family, people who are now interested in the subject. This is a good one. Let's see who else is out there. Dafda, Appreciate you, Dafta. Shadow Feather. Astrid Gooder. Appreciate you. Mary Rodwell is a genius with so much heart. I love your work, Mary. Told you they love you, Mary. They love you. That's love. Jay Burke. Appreciate you coming on out. NT Gangster 1. I see you out there. I see you out there. We're coming back in 5 seconds, guys. I thought I could get everybody. I'll get you, though. Don't worry about it. Here we go. All right, everybody. Welcome back. Spaced Out Radio, the After Hours Radio Show. We are back with Mary Rodwell. This is the end. This is the end, guys. 23 minutes left with our guests. We're going to make sure we get to your questions here in this half hour. Make them good. Put them in all caps. And we will ask them to the guests also. Don't forget, if you missed any part of this conversation, jump in the archive. Go over to YouTube at Spaced Out Radio as we go ahead and get back in the conversation. So let's start it off actually with a question here. Mr. Melted wants to know, Mary, do you know Lanny Kanklin from Omega Communications in Auckland?
No, I don't. Why is that important?
Yeah, please elaborate, Mr. Melted, and let her know why you're asking. Let's see here. Michelle, a.k.a. Mish, question, does Mary still have the organites that I gifted her years ago with meteorite shavings? Just curious.
I certainly do. I've kept everything that I've been given on that. So thank you again. Wonderful present. Thank you.
Awesome stuff. Let's see. Jerry Carter is asking, aliens abduct humans. Will we ever have the opportunity to abduct them for a change?
Well, I don't really know what to say to that. I certainly know that in Area 51 and other of those facilities, they've certainly had some live beings and different types. And there have been a number of whistleblowers that have talked about the different humanoids and different ETs that have been kept and been experimented on, I might add, as well. So I don't know if any of you have, the listeners have ever seen the movie Paul, which is all about a grey that escaped, I think, Area 51. It's a comedy, but I believe it was based on a real experience where a Zeta actually did escape the facility. I mean, it's a brilliant movie. It's one of my favorites. But I believe it was certainly based on a real experience. And there's been a number, as I say, of whistleblowers that have said that occasionally some of them have escaped. So we do it too, just to add to the mix of complicated parts of this experience, for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. He brought up Paul. That's I've definitely seen that, and I'm looking at it as a 2011 comedy, guys. You should definitely watch Paul's. It's definitely a funny movie. Let's see here. Let's see. Is this question okay? We have Charles Wemp saying, "I'm an experiencer since the 5th grade. I'm now 68. How can I get over the fear of telling someone? I'm dreaming about my encounter more often now."
The fear, and my heart goes out to you, because I really understand how difficult it is to tell people around you that don't have that experience of its reality. And you're not saying that you were fearful of the experience, but more fearful of telling someone. And ultimately, I think we've all got to walk our talk a little bit and tell our truth. And one of the things that I remember getting involved in this whole experience of supporting people and, getting people look at me, oh, she's definitely a weird woman, the old alien lady. I got to the point where I actually didn't care what they said. And that's because I've got older, and you're 68. So I've got a few years on you, When are you going to say, it doesn't really matter what they think? You know your truth. You know who you are. And you've got every right to share your experiences. How they react is up to them. But I wouldn't put too much money on whether or not it's okay or not okay. Most people are scared to hear things like that because it takes them out of their comfort zone. So it's not your fault if you're just getting them to wake up and realize the reality.
And now is the perfect time. This is so accepted now. The stigma that was there is mostly gone. And then just know that your courage to step out and say something, it's a domino effect. It triggers someone else who's in that same boat, who is just afraid to come out and say it for whatever reason. And then now you facilitated a situation where now all these other people have branched off of your coming out, and you have 20, 30, 40 people because of you who have come out and told their story. So I always encourage it. Don't hold it in. Definitely let it out. Let it out. Drew Banky, who you met earlier before the show, is asking from the back, why is Orion so important? If you have an opinion on that.
Well, from what I gather, the pyramids are in Egypt are aligned with Orion. I think that obviously that particular those intelligences from Orion have a lot to do with our history, a lot to do with perhaps our genetics, as well as Sirius seems to be another one that has an important part to play in our history, as well as Arcturus and Andromeda, and there's a few others as well. So I think Orion, there's a connection there to the technology that I think the pyramids are. And everything that's coming out about the pyramids now shows us as some kind of ancient technology that may very well have originated in Orion, as many of these intelligences helped us with technology.
Awesome. Roger Murray, our knowledge guy out there, is asking Mary Rodwell, 2026 year disclosure or another year of deny everything?
Well, I've had several sources say that disclosure and contact will happen in the next couple of years. There's Daryl Anker, who channels Bashar, has said that in 2027 it'll all be done and dusted. So that seems to be that we're very close to that now, and it could very well happen in 2026 to 2027. I believe it will. I've got a feeling that something major is going to happen very soon. And it might be related to 3i Atlas, because there's a lot coming out about that as well. And maybe that's the start of the truth coming out at last.
Because it might be an alien ship, because NASA sure did produce the crappiest photo of this comet with the best $40 million camera, 30 million miles away. I did a show where I showed a amateur astronomer here on the planet Earth over 170 million miles away from this object and had a crystal clear, beautiful picture of this comet. So NASA brought us some BS like they always, like we figured they would, and they'll continue to keep secret as long as they can. Michelle, aka Mish, is saying, question, why do they pump vaccines into children? Is it to control the human side or the alien side, do you think?
Well, my understanding is is all geared to transhumanism. They want to change the human into part mechanical, part biological. From everything I know about the spike protein, and I'm no expert, although I was a nurse once a long time ago. It seems to be that the transhumanist agenda is part of what's going on with these so-called jab drugs, whatever name you want to give them. I don't call them vaccines, actually. I think they couldn't be further from vaccines, to be absolutely honest. But then again, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that or not. But anyway.
Hey, don't worry about it. You're Mary Rodwell. You say what you like. So let me say this, though. Alien to control the alien side. Well, I never thought about that. I never thought about, maybe in some way, and I'm not pointing any particular vaccine out, but, maybe we know mentally they want to try to suppress the abilities that we have as human beings. So it makes sense that they do it on other levels as well. So definitely something to think about, Michelle. Thanks for the comment.
Yes.
Benno from Oz is asking this question: does Mary know Susie Hansen? We had her on a couple weeks ago.
Yes, I used to know her quite some time ago. I know her story. It's a very compelling story for sure.
Yep, and they're all the way on the other side of the globe. We have JSCO77 who's saying, Mary, can you make any associations between types of craft and types of aliens?
I wouldn't say I'm an expert on any of that, other than what I've heard from experiences that seem to know when they're from a star family that they recognize, and they'll say that's a Pleiadian ship, or that's from another particular star system or whatever. The trouble is now we have craft that are all been reverse engineered and are flying about our skies from the military. And so you can think they're ET craft, but they're actually not. They've been reverse engineered from our own species. So it's much harder, I think, to know what are non-human intelligence and which actually are our own military. I think the only way you're going to know is if you're very tuned into your contacts and your connection, that you can actually discern the difference energetically between one or another.
And I think Skywatcher did some great work. I think people discredit them for other things, and I don't really care. That's the thing, is in this community is so much of hatred and questioning about people's motives. But then I always say there's always something you could take away from the work that everyone does. And with Skywatcher, for me, they put together a chart of, they categorize like 9 different classes of craft. I think that's very helpful to the conversation, because we know, okay, there are these certain ones that we're seeing in the skies. And then, yeah, from there, maybe once we get further into this, we could categorize what extraterrestrials belong to which craft, or which craft may be controlled by governments. So definitely intriguing, and I think a good first step. Let me see. Was that it, or do we have another one here? Roger Murray threw another one in here. Mary Rodwell question: yesterday's guest, Preston Dennett, he stated that he didn't believe 3-Eye Atlas was space aliens. What do you think about 3-Eye Atlas?
Well, I've listened to some of the remote viewers that are certain that there's certain species inside 3-Eye Atlas. So I don't know how much credence your audience gives to remote viewers and what have you. I would say that what I'd like to believe is that, yes, it is from somewhere else. Yes, there is an intelligence there. And with any luck, they're here to help us wake people up on this planet. So I'd like to believe that. I don't know for certain, but the remote viewers, certainly several of them have said that there is an intelligence in there, and there are beings in there, and they are coming to get, if you like, the planet waking up to its reality. So I'd like to believe that.
And I gotta say, it's supposed to make its closest approach to Earth on December 29th. So we still have a few weeks out before. And here's what I'm hoping: NASA can clear things up by providing other pictures when it's closest past the Earth, or even later in March next year when it gets close to Jupiter. They still have time to bring something to the table. But I did a show where I talk about this. It just seems like they like to live in this gray area where they don't confirm anything. I said they never see anything weird. When they look out there, everything is explainable to them, which does not make sense because we don't understand the universe fully. So if you don't understand the universe fully, then how could everything you see coming in from deep space be explainable? It doesn't make sense to me. And then to add to that, we know you have better pictures than what you brought forward. You definitely have better pictures than that. So why would that be what you end up wanting to show to people? and it just seems like you don't want us to get a clear image of what this is, which leads, we know these things are coming in from space. We see them in our skies all the time, these objects. So NASA has to also see those things. There's no way that there's not a world where they don't see these things coming in from space. So we know they're being disingenuous at best most of the time. And so it just leads more into what Three Eye Atlas is. They could have put this conversation to bed, and they decided not to. They decided to give us a blurry picture, and so the speculation continues. And yeah, I believe that it's probably not just a comet, or if it is something natural, is something very strange that they don't want to show us for whatever reason. So that's my spin on it. And then yeah, Stargazer just saying NASA is part of the disinformation. It sucks. We put trust in them and what they say at times, but they can't be trusted. I mean, I couldn't have said it any better. Do appreciate that comment there. And I did want to ask you before, because we got about 8 minutes with you left. I want to ask you this. Where do you think the bodies are being held? Like the crash retrieval bodies, living or dead, where do you think the governments are holding these bodies?
In underground facilities that we'll never know about, and not the ones even that we do know about, like area. I don't think that those are the places ultimately they'll be where we haven't a clue. They'll be in some place that is very highly top secret, in some under some great mountain or other, where they, we know about the fact that there are tunnels under all the countries that are linking countries together, and hundreds of kilometers of tunnels and facilities and whatever. So it could be anywhere in the States, but it certainly won't be one that the public know about. It will be something highly top secret.
And it makes total sense that it's the Air Force. And we were talking about this the other day, because they're the ones that haven't chimed in on this conversation at all, really, during this whole last 8 years of revelations and the up spike or the uptick in interest in the subject. They're just still silent. They're not saying anything. So that just shows guilt, and it shows that you're hiding something, which just leans in again to the stories that people tell about these underground bases. We know for sure there are underground bunkers. We've seen them, just regular bunkers. We've seen the what is that? The Cheyenne Mountain, where the government has all these records stored, and it's built into the mountain. So we know that they do this. We know they build these things. We know we have missile silos and facilities underground for that reason. So it's definitely very likely that they're doing work underground, and this is likely where they are storing those bodies. I would have to agree with you, Mary, on that. Also, I have to ask this too, because I'm doing a show about this, and I'll probably clip some of this to play in it. But Antarctica, what do you think about that? Do you think there's something going on there? And I'll kind of go from there after your answer.
Absolutely. Linda Mortenhau, a good friend and colleague, her research into the whistleblower testimony of what's actually in Antarctica and what's been hidden there. And I am absolutely certain there is something major that we're not being told about. The fact that high-end celebrities, including the astronaut, whatever his name is, I've forgotten now, went there and was highly shocked at what they saw, and what they came away with is that something very, very profound has been found there. And whether or not it's an ET base, or whether it's a forgotten civilization, whether or not it's Atlantis, whether or not it's some other species of, who knows. But I would love to know what really is the truth about Antarctica. And I think there's going to be a great deal more that's going to be disclosed down the track around that. But I'm fascinated by that whole phenomena and would love to know.
And we had Preston Dennett here last night, and I brought this up to him too, because I wanted to get his perspective on those two questions I asked you. And I pointed out to him, one thing that might be a connection maybe not, is the fact that, well, for one, with Antarctica, the reason why they say we can't go there or it's forbidden that anyone can go there is that they want to keep it pure and pristine. And okay, I could understand that, but there's too many other people that have said they've seen weird stuff, people who have been there. And one thing that I pointed out is that we have historically so much activity, extraterrestrial activity in South America and in the jungles of South America, lot throughout all those countries down there. And the tip of South America is very close to Antarctica, very close. And so it would make sense if this was sort of a base or a location where they stayed a lot of the time and they wanted to visit a landmass. It's the closest thing to them would be the tip of South America. Is covered in foliage. Most of it is covered in dense jungles and tree cover throughout the whole country. So it'd be a perfect place to kind of just dip in and dip out, which could explain why there's so much. It seems like there's so much more activity there than there is other places in the world. So I don't know if there's a connection there, but I think it makes sense to look at it, because otherwise, why would so many reports come out of South America? Like, what would be your perspective on South America? Like, why do you think there's so much activity there? Nazca lines, the Peru mummies, which now we know are probably real. You know, from what the research they're doing on them, that they're real, which is mind blowing, because a lot of people laughed at that in the beginning. A lot of people didn't even want to hear the story here in this community. And I said, you know what? They're saying let scientists come check them out. I'm like, we need to at least do that. Let scientists go and look. If they determine it's not real, okay, we'll move on. But it might be real. And it turns out that the might be real is probably what we're dealing with. What did you think about that?
I think absolutely. And the great thing, when I was in Brazil, I've been there twice. The reason I think so much comes out of South America is the openness of the people to, that phenomena. They don't think it's a big deal, and I think because of that, they own it, they talk about it and share it without any problems. And that's why we hear so much. Whereas in, Western society, it's still not cool in some areas to actually talk about this, because you're the tin hat brigade. That's why I think we hear so much from South America.
Wow. Yeah. Awesome perspective in that. And I know that it come up about the disclosure process and why other countries might disclose before us, for that very reason, that in these Western societies, the stigma is so strong. Scientists are affected by the stigma, which means they don't want to approach the topic or give it any credence. And that's going to allow a place that doesn't care about the stigma to kind of be the first to step out and make this announcement. Mary, we have about, a minute left with you, 45 seconds. Can you let everybody know where they can find you?
Well, either through my website, cern.com.au or maryrodwell.com.au, or I'm on Facebook, Telegram. They're the two main ones, and Messenger. So you can contact me in a number of ways, and it'll be lovely to hear from you if I can help in any way.
Awesome stuff, Mary. Once again, you knock it out the park. Appreciate you taking your time to sit down and have these conversations. I think they're very important and very helpful. I know a lot of new people who'll come in and discover this episode will feel the same way. So I'll be talking to you again soon, Mary. Have a great rest of your day. Take care.
Thank you, Rob. It's been a pleasure as always. Thank you for doing what you do, because it makes such a difference in people's lives. So kudos and thank you.
Awesome stuff. Love it. Thank you, Mary. Have a great rest of your day. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Mary Rodwell, guys. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. Show's not over. We still have hour 3 coming up right after this break on Spaced Out Radio, After Hours Radio Show. See you back here on the other side of the break.
Conversations that move the needle.
Conversations that move the needle.
You're listening to After Hours with Mr. Rob G on the only place where you can own the night. Spaced Out Radio.
Spaced Out Radio. You've tuned your dial to the right frequency.
All right, guys. See you right after this break. right, everybody, welcome back. Spaced Out Radio After Hours Radio Show. We're at After Hour number 3. The third and final hour is going down. We got Steve Stockton Tells the Total Missing Person Mysteries. We got Drewski Banky coming on in with the After Hours wrap up. And then we might be able to squeeze in at least one UFO and weird news story. Guys, we're coming back from break right about now. All right, everyone, welcome back. Spaced Out Radio, the After Hours Radio Show with me, your host, Mr. Rob G. Fantastic show tonight so far. We had Mary Rodwell coming in for hours 1 and 2. Always awesome, Mary Rodwell. We want to thank her for giving her time here tonight. If you missed any of that conversation, hop in the archive. Absolutely free, youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Also, we're going to be getting in some really good stuff here in hour 3. We're going to start it off with Steve Stockton Tells Untold Missing Person Mysteries. As I always say, it is a pleasure being able to have Steve Stockton be a part of the show, and tonight's no different. Let's go ahead and jump right on into this.
Welcome to Tales Untold and Missing Persons Mysteries on Spaced Out Radio's After Hours. My name is Steve Stockton, and I'm here to take you on a journey of mysteries, legends, and true stories. Come, join me on this strange adventure of Tales Untold and Missing Person Mysteries. Today, we bring you another episode in our Land of the Lost series. The sad, strange disappearance of Johnny Gosch. Join us. Now, on this channel, we discuss missing persons cases of all kinds. Sometimes the missing are found unharmed and relatively unscathed, the victim perhaps of a kidnapping or some other sinister plot. Most of the time, though, people who go missing are found relatively quickly because they went missing by choice or simple misadventure. Those are the cases there's no need to really discuss that much further due to the happy ending being the result of some misunderstanding or accident that caused it all in the first place. Then there are some strange cases that start off relatively the same as all the others, only for there to be so many strange twists and bizarre turns, it's almost hard to keep up. Today, we're discussing one of those very cases. What happened to Johnny Gosch? Now, what did happen to Johnny Gosch is still unknown completely, but his disappearance has become so convoluted with years of misleading media reporting, unreliable witnesses, conflicting information being given by people close to the case, and so much more. At the end of the day, if we believe even some of what is thought to be fact about this particular case, we could all very well feel insane and a bit lost ourselves, losing a bit more faith in the world in which we live, one detail at a time. The backstory. On September 5th, 1982, a 12-year-old boy from West Des Moines, Iowa, named Johnny Gosch, went missing in the early morning hours while out on his paper route. The community and Johnny's family would never be the same again. Johnny's mother, Noreen Gosch, has since been on a mission all her own. A mission to not only find the truth about what happened to her beloved son that clear and fine morning, but to also expose some horrendous atrocities, possibly involving human trafficking, and the people who deal in such things as well. Many believe this case is one of a cover-up, one which rises to the highest ranks of politicians and even further, if you can believe it. So let's get into Johnny's story. It was the early morning, and Johnny was out on his paper route alone. Normally, his father went with him, and Johnny had asked his father the night before if he could go by himself that day. His father initially said no, but Johnny went by himself anyway, and subsequently was never seen again. Sort of. Some witnesses came forward and claimed that a man had stopped and asked Johnny for directions. And once he pulled off, Johnny had mentioned to another paper boy that the guy in the car had scared him a little. That same car, an old Ford Fairmont, that had stopped and somewhat frightened Johnny, seemingly pulled off and waited until he was out of sight of anyone else on the street that day. Two men apparently grabbed him off the street and held him down in the back of the old car, according to witnesses, who also said that the car pulled away so quickly after snatching Johnny that the tires screeched as they drove away and out of sight. Unfortunately, and for unknown reasons, no one who saw this abduction, and there were several people who did see it apparently, none of them reported the incident to the authorities. It actually wasn't until the customers on Johnny's route called his parents to ask why their papers hadn't yet been delivered. Unbelievable. This was hours after the abduction itself, and so much precious time had already been wasted due to all these people not doing their civic duty. See something, say something. If you see a car snatch a kid off the street, call the police immediately. Johnny's father went to go and look for him along his route and quickly found the wagon where he kept his newspapers on the side of the street from which he was taken and knew immediately something was wrong. It was very unlike Johnny to be so irresponsible to just leave his wagon and papers there and just take off. His father called his mother, and together they notified the authorities. This is where, at least to some people, and you can be your own judge of it, of course, where the story stops making sense. The parents have described their initial experience with authorities as somewhat humiliating, to say the very least. The police considered the young man to be a runaway. Even after interviewing several witnesses who had since come forward with accounts of the strange man, the actual abduction itself, and even the screeching tires of the vehicle as it made a fast getaway with Johnny in the back seat, they were very slow to respond in the first place, acting as if it were an everyday occurrence and not an emergency that a 12-year-old boy could have been snatched in plain sight of multiple witnesses by at least two strange men, allegedly. Fortunately for Johnny, his mom wasn't going to back down and reiterated over and over and over again that this was outside of her son's character, and she knew beyond a doubt that her son hadn't run away but had been taken. Still, the police weren't taking any action. They were working under the runaway theory, so Doreen, Johnny's mom, organized her own search party made up of family, friends, and the community as a whole to try and find Johnny, or at least spread awareness about his abduction. Doreen even reached out to the FBI, as it is and was back then protocol that they get involved immediately if a kidnapping takes place due to the likelihood of the victim being brought across state lines. However, she soon realized there weren't going to be much, if any, help, and decided to take on the entire investigation herself. She contacted local and even national media in order to raise the awareness of her son's case all across the country, as well as in her own local community. It worked, and the case almost immediately made headlines in all media outlets. Doreen hired a private investigator and even followed up leads herself whenever she could. What she learned could still be, by some, be alleged and must have been horrifying and debilitating, especially to a mother. She found out that Johnny had been abducted for the sole purpose of being used in a trafficking ring. Abusers that spread throughout the globe and involved some very high-ranking people and officials all over the world. He wasn't killed, but some might say his fate was worse than death. He was being kept alive and traumatized in strange and possibly even satanic ways as part of breaking him down mentally, physically, and emotionally, perhaps even spiritually. It was all a part of damaging and possibly eliminating any self-esteem the young boy might have had. This was said to have made him more vulnerable to the brainwashing and susceptible to mind control that would follow. This was done so that technically he wouldn't have to be in prison because he would be a slave in every sense of the word to the people who were involved in all this terror. Now again, this is all theory and conjecture. About 6 months after he was kidnapped, a woman at a convenience store several states away in Oklahoma alleged a young boy came running up to her screaming, "I'm Johnny Gosh, I've been kidnapped." According to this witness, 2 men immediately ran up to the young boy, grabbed him, and made a hasty retreat, never to be seen again by the woman or at that particular convenience store. New evidence would continue to surface in the coming years. Some contacted the Goshes and informed them that they had come into the possession of a dollar bill with the message, "I'm alive, Johnny Gosh," written on it. Mr. Gosh mailed the person another dollar bill in return for this one, and upon examining the writing on the bill when he received it, Johnny's mother confirmed her son's handwriting. Johnny had, at least according to Noreen, written the message. A while later, in Denver, Colorado, another bill surfaced, and written on it in red nail polish were the words, "Johnny Gosh was here." Noreen believed the truth about her son's abduction, and what it had all been a part of was purposely being hushed by authorities and almost everyone involved in finding the truth because of what it stood for. The abuse of power, and the ease with which the powerful, rich, and elite get away with whatever they want. Now, this may seem very strange and out of place, but consider the things that have happened recently in the Jeffrey Epstein case. Now, it doesn't sound so far-fetched, does it? So, Doreen refused to give up on her son, though, and continued her fight to not only expose what had happened to Johnny, but to possibly bring him home one day as well. She vowed that she wasn't going to stop until the entire truth was revealed. According to Noreen, this trafficking organization, Underground, that had taken her son, was connected to some pretty powerful higher-ups, including those who worked for the CIA, politicians in our nation's capital, and even the United States military. Eventually, young and older men alike started to come forward, mainly due to Noreen's strength, bravery, and dedication to finding her son, and claimed that they had been abducted as part of the same ring as Johnny and others. And they started giving information not just to the Goshes, but to the press and the authorities as well. Many of these men and boys confirmed what Noreen had suspected all along. It was a trafficking ring, and it was global. Eventually, too, throughout the years, and with the help of family and friends, loved ones, and even the media, Noreen would meet many of these men. There were those who said that they knew Johnny and had spent time with him during their horrific ordeal. They gave her more updated information on how he was doing and his physical condition, but none were ever able to tell her where her son was exactly. This was all allegedly due to the fact that organizations like the one involved in the trafficking ring were very mobile and constantly on the move. She eventually learned that Johnny, along with another child about his age, had eventually escaped their captors and were living in fear of their lives, constantly on the run and in hiding. Though she eventually did give up her search for and hopes of her son ever coming home, Noreen didn't stop. She became an activist, giving press releases regularly, appearing in public on behalf of missing children in general. It was through Noreen's brave efforts and love for her son that Johnny and other missing children were the first to appear on the backs of milk cartons nationally. The hope was that someone, somewhere, would come forward with information on the particular child featured and possibly lead to a homecoming for the family. Despite all the work she was doing and countless leads that came in throughout the years, none ever led her any closer to actually being reunited with her own son. Sometime in 1997, 15 years after Johnny had originally been abducted, and soon after Noreen had given a television appearance where she spoke a special message to Johnny in case he were listening that day, there was a knock at Noreen's door. It was the middle of the night, and it had awakened her from sleep. When she went to the door and looked through the peephole, she saw two young men standing there. She asked who it was, and the response must have come as quite a shock to this still grieving mother. "Mom, it's me, Johnny. Can I come in?" She couldn't get the door open fast enough. Although it had been 15 years and her son was no longer a young boy, she knew immediately that this was him. Her son had come home to her at last. Unfortunately, though, Johnny hadn't come to stay and was only there briefly. He hadn't come back to live again as a happy family and move on. He'd come to ask her for her help. He talked briefly about the last 15 years, and suddenly Noreen realized that everything she had thought had happened and was going on was true. It was like Johnny had brought with him the few pieces still missing from the puzzle she had begun to put together in her head the very day he had gone missing. Johnny was extremely nervous the whole time he was visiting that night, and he asked his mother to help him bring his captors and abductors to justice. According to him, if they didn't get caught, he would have to live in fear for his life and for the rest of his life. Always in hiding, constantly on the run, no way to live. Johnny stayed a few hours and left again before sunrise. He made his mom promise she wouldn't tell anyone he had stopped by or what he had told and asked of her. She promised her son she would never tell that she saw him that night, and off he went, back into the world, with Noreen once again not knowing where he was going or if he would even ever be back. Noreen Gosch continues to this day to fight for justice and give voices to those who don't have their own anymore. She's an activist for our world's most vulnerable, our children, and she does everything she can to help spread awareness to trafficking rings and what is allegedly going on globally regarding such atrocities. She consistently brought attention to the other victims of the same trafficking ring her son was a part of, and also to others who were victimized by those connected to the one that took Johnny. In 2000, she published a book called Why Johnny Can't Come Home, and gave a detailed account of everything she had learned about her son's and other children's cases. It's all the information she has uncovered and retained throughout the years, and includes some shocking allegations of a cover-up by higher-ups and authority figures we are supposed to rely on to keep us and our kids safe. Shortly after Johnny's disappearance, Noreen founded the Johnny Gosch Foundation. According to the website, the organization's purpose is to educate others as to the reality and seriousness kidnapping, trafficking, and how it could happen to your family, the dangers of those traffickers, and how cunningly they operate in our country. Johnny's story has become pretty well known in circles like ours, this community on YouTube, and in the media, as it's one of those stories that you never want to go away. It's one of those cases where it feels like if we stop talking about it, it could have devastating effects on other children and their families as a whole, because without knowledge of it, history is bound to repeat itself, as a wise man once said. Throughout the years, Noreen Gosh has been called many horrible things, from nut job to crazy to pathetic to a liar to a desperate mother clinging to false hope. And while we may never know if everything she said about what happened to her son is true, many believe she has presented enough information that could be checked for accuracy and factuality if only someone would have the courage to do so. Our hearts go out to the Gosh family, and we hope one day, if everything Noreen has alleged and reported over the years is true, that one day justice will be served, regardless of money, power, fame, or wealth, and that maybe, just maybe, Johnny can come home. We, for one, will be reporting the facts as we know them, and as always, praying for the victims and families we discuss on our channel. Well, folks, there you have it. The sad, strange disappearance of Johnny Gosh. I'm anxious to see your comments on this one, but please remember to keep it friendly and respectful. In the meanwhile, be good to yourselves and each other. Stay safe out there. If you have kids, hug them tight and keep an eye on them. As for me, I'll see you a little farther on down the trail. I'm Steve Stockton, and I'll talk to you next time.
Awesome stuff, Steve Stockton. Keeping people's family members out there, keeping out in the ether so you never forget who these people are. Another true story there. Tales Untold Missing Person Mysteries. Appreciate you, Steve Stockton, being a part of the show. Now it's about time that we go ahead and jump into, you already know, the After Hours wrap up with Drew Banky.
You're an irredeemable monster!
Come here, I'm gonna eat you! Get in my belly!
Get down in the north! He doesn't have Nard! Go it! That man's got Nard!
You're a monster!
That is Drew Banky right here, coming in with the After Hours wrap up. Drewski, how you doing, buddy?
Doing good, feeling better. A
Good.
little bit warmer today.
Good. You know,
Yeah.
we come in and we do this thing called the After Hours wrap up, and you know, we kind of go over the initial interview for today, see what some of your things stood out to you and how you felt about the conversation tonight. Was there anything that you picked up on, anything you wanted to point out that resonated with you?
Just one more hypnotherapist researcher that talks about, you know, this major event coming. Nobody really knows what it is, but it's coming. And man, it's I'm ready for it. Like, you know, I think Mary put it really well. She's like, that's what I came here to do. And I think that's true for every one of us. You know, that's what we came here to do. We came here to experience this moment. So let's experience it, you know, like I'm getting antsy because I know I have the same feeling. So just it was just a beautiful interview to listen to. You know, her perspective on things is wonderful. Like love how she answered the question to Orion. You know, this Orion's belt and the center star in Orion's belt's very sacred and very important in these times right now. You know, it aligns with the center pyramid in Giza. And so there's a reason why a lot of people are having dreams of going back to Egypt, because it leads you back to Orion eventually, because it leads you to Osiris, and then Osiris leads you to Orion. So I just it was interesting to see her take on it. And there's a lot, I've heard a lot of different star systems. You know, different tribes have different star systems and constellations that they hold very sacred and part of their origin stories. So it's just interesting that Orion is so prevalent right now, and a lot of us are being led back to Egypt and eventually, like I said, Orion.
Ah, man, very interesting, very interesting, and yeah, it just definitely, I do feel that thing coming, whatever that thing is. It just, so we talked about so many things just lining up, and I never thought, and I'll say this again, when you look through life, you look through the last 20, 30 years, there hasn't been many moments where the world's attention had been garnered in one moment, and it's just so strange. I remember right after the COVID thing, I said to myself, like, wow, the world was really affected at one time. Like, this was a moment where everyone was affected. And I just didn't think, based on history, that we would have another moment like that anytime soon. I didn't think it would come again. And it just, within a couple of years, we've had two, three, four different events that pretty much brought the same attention and brought everyone together for a moment. And it's just so strange because that'd be like four or five times within the last 5 years that something grabbed the global attention, whereas 20 years prior to that, we have nothing. Maybe if you want to count 9/11, I think that'd be one probably, but it was more of us here at home doing that in the United States. But some people were affected around the world. But these other events, I think, have been very equally important to every person around the world. I'll say that. I think, when you talk about COVID, everyone was affected in the same way around the world. And then the other things that we kind of looked at too. And it just feels like someone is trying to get our attention, or get all of our attention at one time, to prepare for this something that's coming. That's what I'm seeing. I don't know. What do you think about that? Well, that's what I'm feeling. What do you think about
Yeah,
that?
I mean, I think Mary hit the nail on the head with the correct verbiage. The paradigm shifting events like this. It started off like he was talking about, like 9/11. That was a very paradigm shifting event. People are just like, one of those things where you got to sit back and question for a minute. It's like, is this really happening? Like, did this really happen in my lifetime? And 9/11 was a beginning for that. But like, I was commenting um in the chat as it was going on. He was talking about how COVID in 2020, something seemed to happen in 2020. I have a theory on that. Like, I've stated it before, but the year 2020, I think that we manifested that year 2020 to be the year that clarity like rushed over the collective, because back in the mid 1800s, when the term 2020 vision was coined, um I can't remember the gentleman that did it. I think it's somewhere like in beginning 1800s or middle 1800s. But from that date, the year 2020 become the date that we started to have clarity, and it all manifested from us, because we were kind of brainwashed ourselves for generations, from the 1800s all the way up to 2020, however many generations that was. We brainwashed ourselves over and over again, to when we hear the word 2020, it put out a pulse or a frequency of clarity. So when the year 2020 hit, all those years of manifesting that date culminated in the year 2020 to have clarity come over the whole collective. Because what happened in the year January 1st 2020, we started writing it down, saying it over and over again. And even though we were saying the year 2020, what was going on in the background, the first thing that come to mind was not the year. It was, oh, perfect clarity, perfect vision, 2020 vision, clarity vision. So every time we wrote it, every time we said it, all that year of 2020, we were manifesting it. And it was buildup of generations and generations of all that manifestation energy. That's my theory. So that's my theory of why 2020 was started on all that coming out.
I can agree with you, Drew Banky.
No,
And
and these glasses are very light readers. It's just the reflection from the light. So I know the chat's going crazy about my glasses right now.
Yeah, Drew's got 20/20 vision. He just needs those to read. So don't worry about his glasses. They're all good. We're going to come back right after the break with more of the After Hours wrap up right here, Spaced Out Radio. Guys, make sure you don't go anywhere. We only got like 20 minutes left in the show. You can sit for that. We'll see you right back after the break. All right, clear. Yeah, mine's are pretty thin too. But I know someone, I got a person in my family who unfortunately has, I don't know what their condition is called, I forgot, but they have to wear the heavy ones, the ones that kind of weigh your face down a little bit.
Yeah.
I can
The
imagine, man.
bulletproof. The bulletproof ones.
Pretty much. The ones that you can't break them by dropping them, put it like that.
Yeah.
But no, I had that same feeling, dude. The 20/20 thing, I came to that same revelation during that time. The 20/20 vision thing in the seeing clearly. Because I'm always thinking, dude, and it just makes sense, dude. It's
so
funny that it lined
freaking-
up like that. Yeah.
It's so obvious sometimes, like the way that the universe works and things like that. It's so obvious that sometimes we look past it because we're just overlooking these moments. Like, no, that couldn't be. There's no way that the coincidence thing. I think coincidence is a man-made word that was designed to throw us off. Because really there is no coincidence. It's like, how many times this thing has to line up before it's not coincidence anymore, and it's like some type of guidance from a higher power or whatever you want to call it. It's like it happens for me, and I know many people have these things where the phenomenon keeps happening and it keeps showing itself, and to the point where you're like, okay, I see you. Like I recognize that you're there, and finally start to interact with it. And I think Mary was talking about connection to animals and nature, things like that. So yeah.
Save it. We'll go into that after the break here. Otherwise, how cold is it today, man? What's the temperature right now at the very moment?
Let me
What do you
see.
let me check ours here.
21 degrees right now, so
What?
it's not too bad.
Just dude said it's not too bad. What are you talking about, Drew?
It was -5 the other day, so you're talking about almost a 30, over almost a 30-degree difference. So,
dude, that's
it's a lot.
Your breath can freeze on your face at that temperature. That's crazy, dude. That's insane. Let me see. I almost feel embarrassed saying what it is here because it's nothing close to that. That's insane, dude.
Dude, I can't wait. I'm going to Austin next week and leaving Thursday. And I've been checking the weather there. It's going to be in like the high mid-60s, low 70s while I'm there. During the day, I'm like, it's going to be crazy going. Not seeing snow.
You're 21 degrees. I'm more than double your temperature right now. So I'm more than 21 degrees warmer than you at 44 degrees here. A balmy 44 degrees for you. But God, I don't know how. I said, damn, did I? I said it during the break, so we're good.
Dang.
I don't know how you're doing this, dude. I don't know how do you do it, man?
It's clothing. It's about clothing
all the time.
It's about clothing. And if you've ever been to the mountains, like, it's about layering, because the temperature swings here, in the fall and spring, they can be crazy. They can
and
be,
you get hot and you sweat.
50, 60 degree difference in between night and day. It can be 60s at night and get down to freezing. I mean, it can be 60s during the day and freezing at night. So
it takes a special type of person, man. That's what I'll say. I'm a Cali guy, man. I'll never be able to do it. I know I lived in Oklahoma one year. It was the first time I ever saw snow. I had no idea it was going to snow. And I just woke up the next morning and everything was white. It was crazy. It was so crazy that me being from California, I just went out there and we was throwing snowballs because we were kids, teenagers at the time. We were out there throwing snowballs and stuff. until our fingers almost froze off. And we
what you do.
realized that we weren't dressed appropriately to be out there in the snow, but we didn't know any better. We're from California. So, yeah. But I can't, shoveling driveways and shoveling your pathways and stuff. I can't do that because there was a street that went straight across. It was so much snow, it just looked like there was no street there. Like the snow
Yeah.
covered everything, the curb and everything, all the way across into a park across the street. Insane.
I just like all the seasons. When it's cold right here, I like to have a fire. It's just
Drewski is talking about having a fire. We were talking about how cold it was. Didn't realize we were coming back from break, but we are back right here at Spaced Out Radio, the After Hours Radio Show. And we're going to be getting into some good stuff right here on the back half of the third hour, the final 20 minutes of the show here. And guys, make sure that if you miss any of the awesome conversation that either we have here or with Mary Rodwell, that you have in the archive, because it's absolutely free. It doesn't cost you a dime. As we go ahead and jump right back into the wrap up. So the awakening moment that, seems like the last 5 years, as it was saying, if you could see a chart with the typical graph on it, the trajectory has been kind of going a little, no. And then the last really 5 years, it kind of is going straight up, and it doesn't seem to be by accident. And then once again, when we think about that, and we think about over the last 5 years and the momentum, I was talking to Mary about how it's important, like media is social media influencers as well. Media meaning like movies, documentaries, and it's like it's key to know when to drop those. And I think like Age of Disclosure was done at the right time or released at the right time. Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp usually also play a part in that, because right when the community needs that boost, they'll have some new drop that they release, some new video from the Navy or something like that. So it's always key moments when media assists in this wave that we're experiencing. And, like we already talked about the other day, is that we'll have things going into 2026, and it looks like a really good year. Might as well give your opinion on 2025. Give your overview on what you thought about the year, starting from everything that happened this year. How did you feel about it?
I mean, it's been paradigm shifting for me on a personal level. It's been paradigm shifting for on a collective level. Just everything that's happened this year with everything. I know they're talking about Spielberg coming out with a movie. Something about Disclosure coming out next year. That's getting a lot of buzz. Age of Disclosure coming out, but everything that we've got past this year, like we've hit so many milestones on understanding and everything. It's been, and also just this administration has done so many crazy things. Not talking political either way, but I think everybody can agree, no matter what side of the aisle that you're on, that this administration's been, it kind of opens you up to be like, man, is this a simulation? Is this real life? This is so many crazy things happening over and over again. So I think we're building, I think 2026 is gonna make 2025 look like elementary school. I think it's going to be a whole nother level of the same pattern that we've seen throughout this whole year. How many this past year, I remember, like I've said before, I think there's been about 3 times I've witnessed the aurora borealis this year. It's something I never thought I would ever witness unless I went to Canada or Alaska, something like that. But this has been a recurring thing that's happened. That's just one of the crazy things happened, and that's happened 3 times that I can remember, like that I've witnessed in southern Colorado. I witnessed the aurora borealis in southern Colorado 3 times this year. That's insane. So what is that? It's making us look at a bigger picture, like, because we know this is coming from the sun. So it's making us look for a bigger picture. How many every time that there's aurora borealis happen this year, and I'm just using this as an example of one of the paradigm shifting things that's happened. It happened 3 times, but you look on social media. You look at, I love reading the comments all the time. What are the comments always saying? I never thought I could see this, a once in a lifetime event. Oh my God, blah blah blah. Never thought I'd ever get to see anything like this. Especially in like southern states, Arizona, southern Colorado, things like that. This is not like in Montana where you're getting a glimpse of it. This is all the way down in southern Colorado, and I was seeing it clear enough where I could see the waves moving of the energy.
Let me take it a step further. I'm more southern than you, and it showed up here in Bakersfield, California, almost the most southern part of California. We also had it here. I missed it. I didn't, I found out the next day that it happened because I wasn't up on the whole solar flare thing at the moment. But I saw the video of it, and it happened down here. And that's just crazy.
It's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing. The times we're living in right now, it's amazing. It's all these little things, they're happening so often that you don't have time to forget about the last one, and it's just compiling this, because I'm like, man, I'm filming the aurora borealis now. I remember doing this 3 months ago. I remember doing a month before that. I remember and my the Atlas comet being, I think this a line at the end of last year, or maybe it was this year, about the Atlas comet coming, and then my horse Atlas died. That was all connected. Yeah. So it's just no, and I don't think I'm tripping. I'm looking at the chat. I don't think I'm tripping. I think I'm speaking about things that are actually happening in this world that we need to not look past. These are amazing things that are happening in our world that are pointing us to. This is why everyone is contemplating that we're approaching a major climactic shift of some type, a major climactic event, and no matter what it is.
No doubt. I agree with you on that. No doubt. I'm going to put this up. This is what we had out here. This is how deep it got. This is out in Bakersfield, California. The aurora borealis showing up like that. I'm gonna flip through a few of the images here. I think there's 8 on our webs or news website here. That's 1. That's 2. Southern California.
Crazy.
I'm mad that I missed this. I'm so mad that I missed it, but I saw these photos.
Is there has this happened this far south, before this past year?
I'm not sure. Let me check out the story here because it might lead into that. Let's see here. I think Chat GPT, it said something about this too. Let's see. Past few days, blah, blah, blah. Let's see if it doesn't say anything. Let me go out of here because I think Chat GPT. Let's see. Yep, the aurora borealis northern lights has been seen in Bakersfield in Kern County during rare strong geomagnetic storms like the major one in May 2024. So apparently it happened back in 2024, and I didn't see it then either. I haven't, I don't really pay much attention to the and I probably should pay attention to these solar flares. I have been doing so more lately, especially with the 3i Atlas, because I watched, and I'll give this guy a shout out because I think he's awesome. People probably out there watch him too. A guy named Stephen Burns. Shout out Stephen Burns. If you're watching this show, this is your shout out. Give me one back on your show. That'd be awesome. But he was covering 3i Atlas, and he was just posing the question on, could it be, because it was talking about 3i Atlas reaching perihelion, closest point to the sun, and then literally right at that time when 3i Atlas was close to the sun, he talked about it being blasted with one of these solar flares because it just happened to solar flare at the time that it was close to the sun, and it went in the direction of 3i Atlas, and he was just posing the question on if those things could be related, like, just I don't know, the gravity or whatever. I don't understand all that, but he was posing the question on if they were related. And since then, there's been like super explosions. The one that created this aurora borealis, and then there was one that went towards the Earth. I was watching this program the other day, and he was talking about, it was big enough to kind of maybe knock out some electronics or power grids, like I guess what happened in Canada in Montreal, I think in 1989. There was a time, but he stated that the infrastructure is kind of built up better nowadays to kind of withstand some of that, but it still could have an effect depending on what part of the globe that it hits. So interesting stuff, and to be taken all the way back to the 1800s, literally with one solar flare is pretty crazy. We're talking about no electricity at all anywhere. Your gadgets don't work. Your grid is down. Maybe your car doesn't start. Maybe if you don't have these things in a Faraday cage or whatever, you're just out of luck. Crazy. Oh, you're muted.
I got a lot of friends that have like diesel trucks, like older diesel trucks, and they've converted them to where they can run like biodiesel, so like from oil, like use oil from stores and stuff like that. Like I have friends that have converted their diesel trucks to do that. Like it's only costs a couple $1,000s, and you can run off of literally
Cooking
like
oil.
cooking oil, use motor oil, all kinds of stuff. Like there's all types of stuff that you can use to put in it. But yeah, who knows what's going to happen, but we're definitely building up for something. There's I've been guided to do the homesteading and things like that, and I'm not by any means like the power goes out and the grid goes down. I'm not by any means self-sufficient right now, but I do have a little bit of extra food storage, like emergency food storage, things like that. But there's a reason why I've been guided to have a well, like, and have a little homestead and things like that. So I think I'm more prepared than most, but I don't think I'm totally prepared at all.
That's what I was going to say. That a part of us should all be prepared for. You just never know, man. I mean, we only live a short time on this planet. We haven't been exposed to everything that could potentially happen, and it's just always smart to, have some sort of self-sustainability. And I need to take my own word on that. Yeah, it's tough when you're a city guy and you live in a city everywhere, right? So you're not in a position where you could really, put it to practice, right? Whereas if I lived out in the woods or something, I could literally tomorrow begin to practice these sort of things. But it's tough when you live like in the concrete jungle of California.
Yeah, for sure. We got the woods here on our property that we have right now. We have 3 wood heaters spread out throughout the house, and they don't get run all the time. Like we have a regular house furnace, that runs off of propane. But I have that ability, like if I have to put in the extra work, like if we run out of propane, like grid goes down and people stop delivering propane, like I will have heat source here. Like there's backup. In homesteading, you always have like a backup for everything. You always have at least two systems in place. Yeah, Mel WD, I'm the same way. I've had well water for about 5 or 6 years, and I grew up on it. So
WM Arthur says a small 4-stroke engine can be converted to run on steam, by the way. I had no clue. Awesome stuff. Awesome. Yeah. I mean, see, who knows this? The only guy that I know who would know something like this is MacGyver, right? Because MacGyver just kind of just makes stuff out of things around him, and is able to kind of do that, or Survivor Man.
Yeah.
That's I used to tune into Survivor Man before he got all weird and doing weird stuff. But I used to tune into Survivor Man, and because I think it's some of those bare basic survival techniques that you should know. Like he showed me how to light a fire with a lighter that was out of fuel. And I never thought that you could do that. So if you were somewhere and your lighter gets dropped in the water or you out of fuel, it's cold, you're somewhere where you need to get a fire going and you don't know the traditional indigenous way to do it. He showed you how to do it with the old lighter and like some cotton from your socks or something like that. It's just crazy stuff. And I think it's just we need more of that, because I think it's cool to have a few techniques in your belt in case you find yourself in that position. Like I might be somewhere where I need to start a fire, and I'm able now to do that based on some knowledge that I gained, knowledge that I did not have before.
Yeah, this I see this rocket stove talking about in the comments. Yeah, I'm very familiar with the rocket stove. I've actually built one and had a video a while back that I did it out of old cinder blocks. It's not anything that's built to last long, but a rocket stove, you can. I did a video where I cooked a burger on a cast iron using a couple cinder blocks and using just like a handful of wood. So you can do it in like just a little bit of wood. You can actually cook food. But yeah,
And
I don't own I do own a cast iron grill. No, I don't own a cast iron grill. I own cast iron pans.
Need to Gary and his ass how the Survivor Man get weird. He got into some weird stuff, man. He went from teaching you how to survive, which I think is really tangible and really useful in your daily life, to doing shows like discovering Bigfoot or finding Bigfoot, where they every season they're just looking for something that they don't find, right? And even people who I talk to in the Bigfoot community point at shows like that and say that's BS. We don't back those type of shows. And that's what Survivor Man, he went down that path of sensationalism rather than really getting into the real stuff that the real researchers will tell you. No, I don't think they give credibility to any of those shows that are out there that are like finding and discovering Bigfoot. All the researchers I've talked to don't sign up or don't agree or don't align with any of those shows. And Survivor Man decided to take that path. Was it for the money? Who knows? Usually it is for the money when it's those type of shows, the sensationalistic shows. So maybe that's what it was. But I just know he went from let me teach you how to live. Let me give you tools that are valuable in your life, to getting with the dude Todd Standing, and we already know what Todd Standing is all about. I did a video on him on my channel, and so that was weird for me.
Yeah,
that was weird.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well,
no, Bear Grylls is not the GOAT. Bear Grylls is not the GOAT. Bear Grylls, I used to like Bear Grylls. He went home every night. He never slept in the wilderness. Bear Grylls went home at the end of the night, guys. If you didn't know that, he did some great stuff on camera. It looks really cool. But Survivor Man, who is someone that literally slept out on his own, filmed himself for like a 7-day period in the wilderness, no film crew. Bear Grylls went home. Like when he acted like he was sleeping outside and stuff like that, he was literally going back to the hotel, sleeping there, and then coming back the next day. Blew my mind, because I used to think he was doing all this stuff, and it turned out that he wasn't. That's that movie magic, man.
Man, that's about as bad as Diddy.
Yeah, I am so for real, Amy. It's sad too, because I was definitely a Bear Grylls fan. I was like, wow, he's next level with it, and he's doing with Survivor. But Survivor Man, Survivor Man said that, and you can go find this on YouTube. He said something like he wouldn't do certain things. He wouldn't fake stuff or do certain things, so they went and found somebody that would, and that's kind of how he explains it. Mind blowing, right? Mind blowing, but um, it is all about the money, Matt Good could definitely, and I hate that. I hate that it's all about the money because money gets in the way of a lot of real things and a lot of it. When we talk about integrity first, right? People put money before integrity, and I just don't understand that. I'm
Preaching
not
it.
that kind of guy. I would go without money in order to keep my integrity. I
Preaching
couldn't
it.
give up my integrity, and I never will. In woosah, 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 woosah. Yeah, I'm sorry I had to break your heart there, Amy. Yeah, I know, I know. When I found out, I was disappointed too, man. Bear Grylls lost some stripes with me, man, because he used to take. I think he took President Obama out there with him one time. He has like some celebrities that he took out there. They were not staying the night outside, man. I'm so sorry.
No, not Obama.
Nah,
Like,
not at all. You knew Obama
I don't
was.
even think that's allowed. I don't even think you're allowed to do that to even a ex-president.
Nah, yeah, he was out there. I know he went out there with them, and they did some kind of physical stuff. But yeah, Survivor Man tells the whole story, man. He doesn't want, which is only right. You know what I mean? Because if you're not showing a real way to survive, then what are you really helping the person that's watching? I showed you an example. I learned something from Bear Grylls, something that I could take out into the wilderness and really, put to task or put to work.
Yeah.
So historically, for anyone who hasn't seen those episodes, I would recommend going back to watch it. I used to also watch Doomsday Preppers, and I used to laugh at those guys. I was like, that never would happen. They're preparing for what? None of this stuff ever happened. Then we hit the COVID period and saw how society broke down within a matter of days.
And then
And
we
I was
want no
like, that's what
addresses to
it's all
those
about.
people.
All right, Drew, we're ready to close this thing down, man. Anything you want to go ahead and leave the audience with here tonight?
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, guys, and this will make a whole lot more sense next week. But it's been a pleasure doing this show and everything with you, Rob. It's been a pleasure being on SOR, and yeah, I'll see you when I catch up to you guys, wherever that may be.
Sooner than later, buddy. Sooner than later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, much love, and we're gonna go ahead and get ready to thank our guest here for tonight, Mary Rodwell, coming through, just being awesome. Hours 1 and 2. Drew Banky with After Hours wrap up, being a good guy. Steve Stockton tells Untold Missing Person Mysteries. Don't ever forget that he's talking about real people here. We're not just not telling stories. He's talking about missing people. Always keep that in mind when you listen to Steve Stockton. Also, we want to thank the man you hear right there. He is Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Dahl, the man that rocks us out each and every weekend, teaches us to never say never again. Because yes, the phenomena is real, which means anything and everything under that is possible. If you love the show tonight, make sure you show your love tonight by hitting that like button. Get the likes up. I don't know where they're at. Let's get them up. Show your love. Also, throw your horns up. We also want to thank our viewers and listeners online, terrestrial radio, wherever in the world you guys may be listening from. We appreciate you tuning your frequency to Spaced Out Radio, where we do what we do best. What's that, you ask, Drew?
We own the night.
We own the night. Remember, the show is copyright Spaced Out Radio, SR Media Venture Limited. It has been a pleasure once again serving you as your host. I'm Mr. Rob G. That's Drew Banky. This After Hours radio show, guys. To all you space travelers out there, it's not a goodbye. It's not a farewell. We will see you soon as we go off air for the night. You guys take care of yourself. Much love. Awesome stuff, guys. Awesome stuff, man. Really appreciate you guys coming on out, hanging out with us, Drew Banky. We're going to get up out of here. We want retribution. You know how we shut it down each and every night. Have a great rest of your night, guys. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Later.
Cause we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Yeah, we ran out of patience.